Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our program will resume in 10 minutes. Please proceed to your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, our program will begin in 5 minutes. Please be seated and place your mobile devices to silent mode. Thank you for your cooperation. The third open session of Summit Giveaway will begin at 1 p.m. Claim your rewards now by using Sync of VeChain Thor mobile wallet. Ladies and gentlemen, our program is about to begin. Please be seated and place your mobile devices to silent mode. Thank you for your cooperation. The third open session of Summit Giveaway will begin at 1 p.m. Claim your rewards now by using Sync of VeChain Thor mobile wallet. Ladies and gentlemen, our program will begin. Please be seated and place your mobile devices to silent mode. Thank you for your cooperation. The third open session of Summit Giveaway will begin at 1 p.m. Claim your rewards now by using Sync of VeChain Thor mobile wallet. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome back to VeChain Summit 2019. Let's give a warm welcome to our next guest speaker, the CTO at VeChain, Mr. Jin Liang Gu.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to VeChain Summit. My name is Jin Liang Gu, and I will give you an introduction of VeChain Turnkey solution. Yeah. Okay, this is my agenda. First, I will talk about turnkey solution. Then, I will talk about enterprise digital asset management. Then, about VeKey solution. And last, I will give you a high level of technical roadmap to support digital asset management. So, first, I will talk about turnkey solution. So what is turnkey solution? Actually, turnkey solution has been widely used in almost all industries. Manufacturing can use this kind of solution to as you know, turnkey is a workable solution and easily and readily to deploy because according to the user manual or operation guide, it is very easy for you guys to deploy in your environment and application. And maybe is different from the others. So turnkey solution should be very, very customizable. And VeChain's turnkey solution is different from the other solutions because we combine both hardware and software solution together, which makes landing project much more easier. And then why is turnkey solution? Because when you are making your own product, I think you do not need to do everything from scratch. So, turnkey solution can be a reference design for your guys. Doing so, it can reduce your time to market, and also it can reduce your cost. And also, by providing more and more turnkey solution to your guys, to the community, and to the developer, so it will be very helpful for VeChain to boost the ecosystem. And this morning, Sarah has given an introduction about VeChain's tool chain solution. Actually, VeChain tool chain solution is also a turnkey solution. As long as your guys have for example, the opportunity or chance to run such kind of business, you can just ask for getting the turnkey solution and run your own business. And for enterprise use blockchain to solve their problems, they mainly focus on data and digital assets. So I will give you a solution about VeChain's digital assets management. As you know, more and more companies are ready to equip themselves with certain amount of digital assets. And also, more and more companies are issuing tokens to their customers and to their users. So a question has been raised: how to manage this kind of assets? Based on VeChain's knowledge, we separate enterprise digital assets into two parts. First is the escrowed assets, and the other is the own assets. Escrow assets mean these digital assets do not belong to the company. They belong to the end user and to their customers. But as you know, traditional users do not have the capability to manage the private key. And the only thing that you claim the ownership of the digital assets is the private key. So the company, the platform should have the responsibility to escrow the key for the end user. And for the own asset, if you are a company with a large amount of digital assets, the traditional way to manage this is you buy your ledger or just a key file. You separate the key file and the password to different people to manage this. So is it safe or robust? So based on these questions, from last year, VeChain has developed two kinds of solutions to solve these two problems. The first solution is HSM-based key escrow, and the second solution is VeKey-based. Both solutions combine VeChain's hardware and software inside. So, the HSM-based key escrow. What is HSM? Actually, HSM is a dedicated crypto processor that is specifically designed for crypto key lifecycle management. And you can think of it as a trust anchor that can securely storing and processing cryptographic keys. And this is a higher level of our VeChain's HSM abstract architecture. And this whole solution provides a RESTful API, which means you can easily use this whole solution and integrate it into your existing system. And also, as this solution is also a turnkey solution, which means we will provide a full released package. Using this package, it includes operation guide, user manual, and firmware, and all the things inside it. According to the user manual, you can deploy this whole solution in your existing system very easily and run this solution and integrate it into your system. And because of the characteristics of these HSMs, we use a Gemato HSM. And this HSM has a FIPS 140-2 level 3 security level. And VeChain's firmware is running inside it. It is very secure because all the VeChain's firmware are running inside this secure enclave. And the private key inside it, you can never pull out it, so it's very secure. And this is not a pure technical solution because we want to make it for business. So we design a management portal to help you to, for example, to manage the access permission and the risk control and also rule engines to help you guys to do the risk control. And this whole system, whole solution is for key escrow. So it can be used in fintech company and also trust company. Whenever you have the requirement to escrow the key, you can use this solution. Actually, you can see the digital carbon system. When you drive the car, you got a token, and this solution helps escrow the private key for the user. So digital carbon system has used this solution for the users to escrow the keys. A second solution is to manage your own asset of the company. This is threshold signature solution. Threshold signature is a concept that breaks down the private key into several pieces. And if you collect a certain amount of secret share, means you have broken down the private key into secret shares. And the private key can be recovered, then the transaction can be signed. So this is the basic architecture of this. And M over N. N is the breakdown pieces of secret share, and M is the minimum amount that you can collect to recover the private key. And N and M are fully customizable. And as you know, all the secret share belongs to different people. So they needed to communicate. So we designed an asymmetrical crypto algorithm to help encrypt the data when they communicate. So even the data is transmitted in the public network, you cannot get anything related to the secret share or the private key. And also, we designed a web-based application. It supports remote operation, which means you do not need or require all the people who hold the share online at the same place at the same time. It's fully asynchronous. And this solution off-chain. Compared with the smart contract on-chain, like multi-signature smart contract, it is much secure compared with this kind of solution. And actually, this solution, we use actually VeChain's foundation's digital assets are managed by this whole solution. But as you can see, this secret share is very, very important. So how to manage this kind of secret share? I will give you VeKey. This VeKey is actually the second generation of VeChain's solution, compared with the first generation we released last year. And we made two important improvements in this version. The first, we add a fingerprint, because if you want somebody operating using this VeKey, you must make sure it is a real person that is doing the job. So fingerprint is very, very important. And second improvement is we use a MCU, means microcontroller unit, a processor, plus secure element, a two-in-one solutions. Compared with the separate one in the market, it is much, much more secure. And this is for local security. But when you are doing real business, it is very serious. So the remote service should be authenticated, which means if the remote service want to use VeKey to sign the transaction, the VeKey must authenticate the remote service. So the remote service should send a certificate file and signature to VeKey. After authentication, the VeKey can sign the transaction. So this is very useful especially in business case. And for sure, it is Mac and Windows support. As VeKey is a very, very useful tool in real business, so we want to open it to community. This is the whole abstract architecture you can see. And VeKey is targeted for identity. And you can see there's a native APIs that you can use to build up a native application, both on Windows and Mac. And as you know, for web application, for JavaScript, it is much more difficult to access USB. So we develop a RESTful API that can be running on both Mac and Windows. You can run it and let web application to access USB and sign the transaction. And also, in a computer, you can insert many VeKeys in this computer. So there's a proxy UI to manage all the secret keys, the VeKeys, and then to choose which VeKey should work. And also, it supports secure upgrade, which manages the firmware of VeKey. Okay. So I have talking about 3 turnkey solutions that can be opened to developer and community. And all the information will be released in our VeChain World Document Center. And besides, there will be a contact information. And if you guys have any interest, or you may find some business opportunity, maybe you can use this kind of turnkey solution. You can contact the contact information and ask for getting this turnkey solution to help you to make your product and develop your product, then run your own business. It's fully turnkey. And to support all these key escrow and threshold signatures technical solution, so I will give you a high-level technical roadmap support asset management. The first basic function is derived signing, which means derived key and sign the transaction. It's a basic function of what VeChain Soul Wallet and Sync and most SDK are doing. And next, it should be secure and multi-signature. This is what we HSM-based key escrow solution and also threshold signature VeKey-based. This kind of solution works. And next will be privacy protection. As you know, privacy has been getting more and more important, like European GDPR. And this morning, Professor Dan Bonnet has given his presentation about bulletproof. So we are working with Professor Dan Bonnet to use bulletproof to protect the data privacy. And more will be released in the coming quarters. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jianliang Gu. Everyone, please join me in welcoming the lead blockchain architect at Deloitte Digital and Blockchain Lab, Mr. Parminder Parmar, and from blockchain consultant at Deloitte Blockchain Lab for Europe, Middle East, and Africa, Mr. Michael Burke.
So hello everyone, my name is Michael Burke. I'm a strategy and innovation consultant in Deloitte's EMEA Blockchain Lab based in Dublin in Ireland.
I am Parminder Parmar. I'm lead architect in the Deloitte Blockchain Lab in Dublin.
So before we get stuck into our presentation today around Deloitte blockchain in general, but also some of the innovative work we've done with DMVGL, we're going to show you a quick video from our global CTO for blockchain, Antonio Senatore.
Hello everyone, thanks for having me at this event. I'm Antonio Senatore. I'm a director in technology here in Deloitte. I'm the global CTO for Deloitte Blockchain, so my role is to lead the blockchain technical roadmap and technical delivery for Deloitte at a global level. So again, thanks for inviting me to the VeChain Summit. Unfortunately, I cannot be there today, but I've sent two of my team members, Michael Burke and Parminder Parmar, which I'm sure they will do a very good job in explaining what we are doing with VeChain, what we are doing in Deloitte in general, in the blockchain space, and what we are doing with DMVGL and blockchain. DMVGL is a strategic client for Deloitte. It's been a client for many years, but in the blockchain space, we started a journey with DMVGL just a couple of years ago, with an initial strategic thinking about how blockchain could really change and impact the business assurance space. So we started with a pilot, which was released, I think, a year and a half ago in live, where we basically, in a permissioned blockchain Ethereum space, Ethereum-based, we delivered, ISO business assurance certifications. This was our initial thinking. Then with the DMVGL team, we looked at the second phase, which what we had done made sense only if we were in the public space. And in the meantime, DMVGL and VeChain became close. They got together, they partnered together, and it seemed the natural progression of keeping those certificates and releasing them into the VeChain, into the VeChain public chain, mainnet, I shall say. The work we are doing, we plan, of course, the work we plan to do is from our side, to contribute also to the VeChain Foundation in terms of code. We have already developed a few tools and Explorer, etc., and we will give those back to the community. So Deloitte will be active and very active in the open source contribution for VeChain, but of course our most interesting part is to continue the DMVGL work and VeChain together. So now we have those certificates there. What else we can do? What are the next steps? Well, there is a lot. I don't want to really reveal too much because I know the other guys are there. I know Luca is there. I know Renato is there. So I will let them, reveal a lot more. But it is a very interesting thing. What is about to happen is about the creation of a business assurance ecosystem. It is very good. The strategy of the EMEA Blockchain Lab is fairly simple. It's multi-industry, which means we play in all the industry space. Business assurance is an example, but we are working in insurance. We're working in FS in general, public sector, supply chain, consumer products, you name it. I mean, we are literally working in all the industries. And this has been our focus since day one, since we started the journey in blockchain. In terms of technology, we are multi-platform. We used to say we are platform agnostic, but probably it's not a great way of saying it. Multi-platform is a much better term. We have delivered on different platforms. VeChain is one of those for several reasons. Of course, the DMVGL partnership has made a strong case for us, but also the fact that I decided to, and I was invited and I accepted to be part of the foundation advisory board, which I'm very proud of. So we plan to work a lot with VeChain in terms of literally advising around the technology roadmap, contributing to the open source ecosystem, giving back some of the tooling we are going to develop for our clients. If we can open source them, we will. And really, but the most important thing that I would love to do is to bring enterprises on the platform, to make the platform really enterprise, to help VeChain to design for adoption. It's no longer cool to build stuff in the blockchain space that nobody's going to use. We want to build stuff that enterprises, that the public, that governments are going to use, and this is going to be our focus. Enable the VeChain Foundation to build something that can be of real use for everyone. Yeah, as I probably already mentioned it, I mean, I'm very proud to announce that I've been invited to become a member of the advisory board for VeChain, which I have accepted. I'm very proud of that. I just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you to the VeChain Foundation. Thank you to Sunny. Thank you to Renato from the MVGL. Thanks to everyone. I will do my best to help. My focus is going to be contributing to the ecosystem with the work we are going to do, advising on the technology roadmap, but design for adoption, helping design for adoption, helping enterprises to come on the chain, on the mainnet, really designed for use, really designed for ecosystem, really designed for platform. We don't want to have, again, blockchains that are out there that are not used by anybody. We want to design for adoption. It's not cool anymore to say we build great stuff, but nobody's using it. We got to get out there and onboard organization into this platform, and I will work on that. Thank you very much, and enjoy your day.
So we actually managed to get that in one full take, would you believe? Yeah, amazing what technology can do. But anyway, myself and Parminder are from our EMEA Centre of Excellence in Dublin, Ireland. So what does that mean? We lead out all blockchain initiatives within the EMEA region, but also support Deloitte globally in all their blockchain endeavors as best as we can. Now, we're a team of about 35 now. We've doubled our team since about last year, with a 70-30 split of developers and strategy and industry SME guys. So our developers are working on front-end, back-end, middleware applications, developing across a number of different platforms, specifically VeChain, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Hyperledger, and Corda. So initially, when we started our lab in 2015, we were primarily focused on giving a lot of educational sessions around, what blockchain is and, how it's going to challenge traditional ways of doing things. And our first big piece of work was with Ireland's largest bank, Bank of Ireland. And what this was focused on was creating a blockchain platform for education qualification certification. So you'd have your employee, your line manager, your HR manager, and the regulator all operating on the one platform. Really, really cool piece of work. And when Bank of Ireland announced this on their website, within the first 2 hours, the website crashed because of the amount of hits it got. So again, you could see the interest within the Irish market starting to pick up in this technology. Fast forward about 2 years, we released the first live production blockchain outside of financial services with DNVGL. And this was focused around migrating all their business assurance certificates onto the Ethereum private network. And at the time, this was a truly groundbreaking piece of work, as it was never done before outside financial services. And I just want to thank Luca, Gabriele, and Renato for continuing to work with us to help create the future. And slowly but surely, we've seen a move outside of financial services, which was initially the poster boy for blockchain solutions into industries such as aviation, pharma, consumer goods, and telco, where we've created over 50 different PwCs across the global network. So a little bit more about the global blockchain community in Deloitte. So we have 3 hub labs. The first one that was set up in Dublin, Ireland, and then the second in New York, and the third in Hong Kong, which we subsequently helped set up. We have 5 spoke labs that are spread over across the whole world, over 50 different ecosystem partners who we continue to work with to truly create innovative solutions for our clients. Over 100 different clients using blockchain in a number of different industries, not just initially financial services, which was where the majority of the work was back when the technology started to get popular, and over 1,500 in our community of practice, which is a really, really strong ecosystem within Deloitte and just shows the interest people have within our community. So, we might call ourselves the blockchain lab, but, we're Deloitte and we're very much connected to Deloitte. When we're building solutions for our clients, we adopt a multidisciplinary approach. So, when a client comes to us and asks for some sort of solution to their problems, we don't just gather all our tech experts into one room and go, right guys, see you in 4 weeks, build us a blockchain. Absolutely not very efficient. We rely heavily on our industry SME experience from the guys in cyber, legal, audit, tax, and finance to create truly transformative solutions for our clients. So I'm going to show you a quick video about some of the work we've done with DNVGL up to date, and then my colleague Parminder is going to bring you through the technical journey from when we started 2 years ago up until this very point.
As you must have seen, a brief overview of the solution which we have delivered with the NVGL from our EMEA blockchain lab. So just to give you a brief background how we started with this journey. So around 2.5 years ago, we started brainstorming solutions with the NVGL, how to make certification, certificates and issuance of certificate process as digital as possible in an immutable and in a transparent way. So one of the few solutions which we brainstormed was eventually led to blockchain. And the reasons why we did that was basically to create an ecosystem of the users where more and more people can be onboarded for use of these certifications. And they have developed trust over the period of time on their certificate issuance, and we counterfeit the improper use of these certificates. Now, this is just an overview journey, and as part of initial pilot solution, or which we went live initially, was basically an Ethereum-based private solution where we moved all of the certificates from a centralized database to this Ethereum private solution, which was backed by a database. But what it does, it did store hashes or all of this data on a blockchain, which was Ethereum, and it assured to the users that all of the upgrades to that certificate, the current status of that certificate, and at the moment when they're validating that certificate is truly valid and immutable. So this was the ask from the NVGL, and how Deloitte delivered. We're going to go through this journey step by step now. Now, after the solution went live, after 1.5 years ago, as the NVGL partnered with VeChain, it became a next step of progression that we do something with these certificates on the VeChain platform. And looking at the capabilities with VeChain is offering like multitask transactions, multi-party payments. It did look like a best use case and best platform for these certificates to be in and to be publicly available. Now, when we started these brainstorming sessions with, from technical perspective, from the NVGL with Gabriele, Kiran on that side, we started like, what all things are we delivering as part of that? So we had transactional logs, iterative concept of prototyping refinement, production-ready blockchain stack. So these were the few of the things which we decided these are going to be released step by step. Now, as through these brainstorming sessions, we did filter out what we're going to deliver, and this was the phase 2 of the certificate solution on VeChain. Now, initially, there were a few tasks which we had to do as part of this, which was basically migrate all the certs from Ethereum to VeChain, then offer each certificate publicly as a service to the users, give it a digital identity, which would be a token in a wallet in the future, maybe, or could be integrated with enterprise platforms or any organizational concept through in a decentralized way to validate these certificates for any user. And the final step is obviously it has to be blockchain, public blockchain to get the maximum value out of it. Now, as we progress through this, there were a few brainstorming ideas like why go public? Why not just keep it as it is in a private Ethereum blockchain and just keep on using it? One of the things was in a private network, even though you can save transaction costs, but its business scalability is lot limited. Once you move to a public blockchain, you can onboard more technical as well as business users onto your platform. And you create an ecosystem. So the future is basically we have a single ecosystem where all certs get onboarded on this platform, and there's a decentralized way to check or validate these certificates. Yeah, so as part of this journey, basically we had current solution on Ethereum, and as I had given you a brief background why we chose VeChain, and we migrated all of this on the VeChain platform. Now going into more tech details, as most of the audience is technical, and what is our current tech stack? Now, when we go public, how do we determine what's the perfect tech stack for us? Now, to get the best performance on the front-end side, we picked Vue.js to be our front-end framework. Then, to store some of the additional data regarding the certificates, which does not make sense to be essentially on a blockchain, we picked IPFS, which is interplanetary file system. You can store and retrieve data publicly. Then the platform, as you all are aware, is VeChain. Our backend is on Node.js. Then we built a lot of smart contracts to make it as smart as possible to store all the certificates in a tokenized fashion as a digital asset. So for that, we built all of the smart contracts on Solidity. And as for cloud and Docker orchestration layer, we have Azure and Kubernetes, which is preferred platform for DNVGL. Now, without going into much complexity about load balancers and how our architecture looks like, this is as simple as it looks on a tech stack scale. We have Azure, front-end, Vue.js, back-end on the Node, and we have the 3 main core platforms on the back-end, which is IPFS, Postgres. This is just to enable search, some of the search capabilities, nothing to do with certificate data, and then VeChain platform, where all of the certificate data is publicly available to all the users. So that's our architecture overview. Now, as a Deloitte, when we are planning to deliver this product to DNVGL, one of the main core concerns for us to deliver the product of this topmost quality. Now, to ensure this quality, how do we let the clients know that this is assured and it's of a better quality than the other one? So as part of this, we started generating reports. We started doing code analysis, continuous code analysis. For that, one of the tools which we used was Sonar analysis. Sonar Cube. So basically, as part of this tool, every time a user commits a change on a repository or in any part which is related to DNVGL source code, every time this commit goes through regression tests, a lot of regression tests. These phases are like unit tests, integration tests, performance tests, and security analysis, just when accidentally. And in case the system has any kind of bugs or any possible issues. Now, as part of this, how to automate that as much as possible. What we picked as Azure has been a preferable cloud provider for DNVGL. So it did make sense to have a continuous integration and deployment pipelines on the Azure. So as part of this, what happens, as I said, when we're doing these continuous checks, all of these goes through a dev, UAT, and prod environment. All of these artifacts when we build and do code analysis. Now, what happens when in a developer's life? What happens? So once you've pushed the code, you've committed a change, you've enabled a feature in this application, it just automatically goes, does your regression test, runs all your tests, performance tests, and once everything's fine, it automatically deploys on your UAT, prod, and dev environment in a sequential manner, which is the ideal way to go forward. And the background, the reason why we've chosen this is to gain as much efficiency as possible, and to reach production stage within minutes. For example, in future, we introduce a new feature in this platform or in the application. We have capability to deliver and deploy this once the feature has been finished within a few minutes on the live. Now, going into details of cloud infrastructure. So cloud provider is Azure. Now, how this DNVGL application sits within Azure is we are using Kubernetes. This has been built by Google. And the reason why we're using is we wanted to orchestrate all our Docker images on the cloud as much as possible. So what Kubernetes gives us, how this infrastructure, how we're doing it differently. So basically, all our infrastructure is infrastructure as code. So nothing is done manually through portals or anything. Every change in the infrastructure is stored in a Git repository. And if you need, let's say, another VeChain platform or if you need another database, or let's say you want to replicate another infrastructure somewhere in Europe, US, or India. So all it would need you to do is change the code. You change the code and it changes the infrastructure. So what this gives us flexibility is everything is tracked. Every single change is tracked. No one can manually do and go and change it through the portals. So that's just a brief background around how our infrastructure looks like. Okay, I think it's stuck. Okay, no. Now we go deeper and deeper around our implementation details. Now, I think even going into covering all of the stuff which we've done for DNVGL, I would pick the challenges which we faced and how we encountered them. And I think that would be much more helpful for the tech audience here as well. So one of the few challenges is when you're building a massive application of this scale, when DNVGL asks for this application, it's not as simple as like having a single smart contract and you store loads and loads of data and you do all of the processing and things like that on top of that. Now, how we do that is we introduce a registry proxy pattern. This pattern has been implemented in a various different ways in different organizations, but we modify it to our needs, to the individual needs, to Deloitte, how we technically assess that. Now, how it sits in currently is even before that, so as you might already be aware, once a smart contract is in the platform, it cannot be modified at all. It's unmodifiable. That's the nature of the smart contract, and that's how it should be. Now, how do we make adding more features in a smart contract much more flexible for future use cases as well? So we introduced proxy registry pattern, which basically we have a registry where we store all our smart contract details, addresses, where it's stored against a key. And then there's a proxy contract, which is basically your main contract via which you interact with the NVGL interfaces or the NVGL functionalities. Now, below this proxy contract, there sits a lot of functionalities. For example, there's tokenization functionality, where each certificate is tokenized and stored. Then there's validation functionality in the NVGL certificate core, as you can view on the screen. And then, basically in logically separated smart contracts. Now, every time we introduce a new change, all we need to do is we store the address in a registry. The user goes through the proxy, and it will be automatically pointed to the new proxy address. What this gives us the flexibility is introduce new functionalities in the future, and to be safe and to be tamper-proof and get the maximum features of the smart contract. Another challenge which we faced as part of this project was basically migration. There are currently 150,000 certificates in production for the NVGL at the moment, which we were targeting to move to VeChain platform. And it is being done at the moment. As we're speaking, the migration is currently on, and it's live. So how we did that? So you have a big data, or either you can go and do 150,000 times manually, or via script, or basically via a simple web app. And it's going to take you around months, maybe if you do it more smartly, maybe a few weeks. So how we did that? So we used the cloud capabilities. Our main idea was to use the event hubs. The concept behind event hubs is basically you store large amount of data and you retrieve it sequentially or as you process in the future. Now, as in the previous slide I showed you, event hubs was natively supported by Azure. So we've picked up again Azure, and this is how we started migrating. So all the data from a centralized database flows through this Azure event hubs, which is available in large quantity. And there are Azure functions, which are like serverless applications, which start picking up this data from a centralized bucket and start processing. As part of this processing, they start pushing the data onto an IPFS and on VeChain platform, and start issuing certificates on the fly. So this was one of the challenges which I just wanted to walk you through. Now, as we went through this journey, apart from the challenges and the solutions, our dev community started to contribute towards VeChain platform, to the VeChain ecosystem, because we wanted to contribute as much as possible. One of the things we introduced was VeChain Explorer. So more targeted for dev environments, and slowly we are progressing for production and for mainnet environments as well. Now, the reason why did we need that? Basically, initially when we started with this journey, we needed we have explorers at the moment in the production, supporting VeChain, very large community, thanks to everyone. But there's not much open source at the moment. So that was the reason we picked it up and we started building, and it's going to get targeted and released very soon, probably by end of this month. And yeah, looking forward to it. Well, what makes this Explorer a lot different from the normal ones? It's backed by an in-memory database. It's a lot faster. It's based on a user experience. So basically, whatever data you see on the screen is immediately backed on a Redis server. It doesn't load chunks of data or stores in a centralized database. It's based on user experience. As you progress, it loads data on the fly. Yeah. Next thing, what we introduced was the Azure Key Vault Signing Library for VeChain. That's another contribution. If you're using Azure platform, Azure Cloud, Azure platform, and you're storing your private keys on HSM in Azure, please feel free to use this library. This is going to be released soon this month as well. So what this library does is it ensures that your signatures are verified, authenticated using OAuth token. It signs a transaction in an offline fashion and verifies it for you, and then gives you a signature which will be accepted by a Thor node on the VeChain. Okay. So another tool which we built was Loki. Loki, the name we picked it up because the Thor node. It's called, just to keep the naming conventions as Marvel Universe specific as possible. So what is it? It's a truffle for VeChain. At the moment, we have a large community or a different company now, Truffle, which supports Ethereum for smart contract deployment, testing, and everything. Now, what Loki does is it does similar stuff for VeChain at the moment. It deploys multiple transactions. It configures your proxy contracts if you want to use that. Does transaction simulation, which is offered by VeChain. Really amazing feature where you can hit the Thor node, get the gas estimations, and you can come to know whether that transaction is going to pass or fail in the future. So yeah, that, and then by default it supports multi-clause transactions and multi-party payment features as well. So yeah, that's the detailed overview of the tech stuff which we've done for the lab, for the DNVGL project. And we're really thankful for the DNVGL, to Gabriele for the constant brainstorming and everything. And this is a quick certificate QR code. This was the first certificate which we released on the mainnet last week. And if you guys would want to scan and see how a DNVGL certificate has been issued on the mainnet, please do feel free to scan it. Thanks. Thanks for your time, and thanks VeChain for inviting.
Thank you, Parminder and Michael. Everyone, please join me in welcoming the leader at IT Tech Office Singapore for BMW Group, Mr. Jihan Elbai.
Hi guys, how are you doing? Hope you had some very good, interesting keynotes already. Today I'm here to talk about how we at BMW innovate, how we work with blockchain, and I'll give a quick introduction into the startup garage that we have, and of course at the end I'll talk about VeChain and also a product that we call Verify Car that we've built together. So I'll just small wrap up. How do we innovate at BMWs? We have cars, we have supply chains, we have production, we also have like mobility services. So we have a lot of different departments taking care of different types of innovation. So we have different tech offices. They call tech offices. They take care of every innovation that we do within the car. That can be hardware. It can be anything from new displays, new buttons that only show up if I need them. Then again, we have people just taking care of production systems. How can we automate the plants? Can we make things more efficient? And then we have the IT tech office, where we really have a look at all IT systems that we have and how we can help with new systems or new technologies like blockchain, how we can help the company. So in total, we have 5 IT tech offices globally. You can see here as well, we have one here in Mountain View, one in Greenville, because one of the biggest plants of ours is in Greenville. So we try to have new image recognition services there, and 2 in China, of course, and 1 in Singapore. So how do we work? Every year we release a tech radar where we try to have a look at all the new emerging technologies that are arising. So we categorize them in three, as you can see here. We assess them. Assess means the technology is still like 7 to 10 years away. We should have a look at it closely, but we should not lose track of it. Trial already means it's proven technology, and we should really have small pilots around the markets. And adopt at the end of the day means really the technology, we need to use it now, otherwise we lose track and we need to keep running. Also, that might not be as important, but I'll just show you why we at the IT Tech Office in Singapore focus on blockchain. I think that's the most important thing to point out here is we see that in Singapore, the government highly supports startups, highly supports blockchain startups. There's a lot of capital there, and of course we have an active startup scene there. How the IT tech offices work, we mainly just want to point out, you might know that corporates have a lot of processes, and it takes quite a while until you have a product getting rolled out on the market. We try to work quicker, but what I want to point out here is that we always start at a problem statement. Because at the end of the day, you can only roll out the product if really there's a pain point out in the market, otherwise it will not really work. So after having a problem statement with the business, we would basically scout for a solution provider, which we have in the case you'll see later with VeChain. We found a solution provider that we think is very valuable to us, and then of course build a product together, build a prototype, and then pilot it in the market. And if it proves to be good, we would basically start a new project and roll it out globally. Coming to the next point is blockchain at BMW. Give me a sec. Correct. So these are the focus areas that we now set for ourselves. We have on the one side, we have mobility. With mobility, you might know we have a lot of mobility services such as Drive Now, Park Now, Charge Now, where I can just go to a car, I can open the car, I can drive it around. And blockchain helps us here to build some new use cases such as P2X sharing. That means I own a car, but I only use the car 5% of the day because I basically just drive to the work, park it there, and I need it to just go back in the evening. So blockchain might enable us that people can share their car independently with foreigners, what kind of Airbnb has already achieved with the housing market. And of course, looking for a little bit further in the future is once a car is autonomous, you also want that the car drives to a charging station itself. And of course, there you need to have kind of a communication between machines where you also have like an exchange of value. That means on the mobility, we also have use cases like parking. In the middle, you can see supply chain. I think that's quite common for everybody. Supply chain has a lot of possibilities for us. We have a huge supply chain. That means part traceability is one of the main use cases here. and of course, something like a document management where you can put up the documents in the blockchain and really verify those documents. And last but not least, we see the customer, of course, always in the middle for us. That means we kind of think we can use blockchain for financial services and also loyalty programs, or even a use case that I'm going to show you later, which is kind of verified data of a vehicle. So after the huge hype in 2017, people started to use blockchain for every use case they can think of. So these are the evaluation criteria we set for ourselves. That means we won't use blockchain for every use case just because it sounds good. And as you can see here, for us, there always need to be multiple organizations involved to use the blockchain. Otherwise, if only we are involved, it really doesn't make sense for us to use a blockchain. The data, of course, must be verified. And of course, as I said before, there needs to be really a clear business value behind that. You might have seen something similar from DNVGL this morning as well. So this is our roadmap and how we see that we can tackle blockchain. You can see on the lower left the use cases around track and trace, which are the low-hanging fruits, which can be really achieved quite quickly. That means something like mileage verification or part traceability during the supply chain. And of course, if you have a look at the time to adoption a little bit further, if you at some point have autonomous driving, you can of course think of data markets where our cars can share data with each other and of course trade that data with each other. And maybe at some point you can even think of some robo-taxis. Let me quickly introduce the Startup Garage. Not sure if you have heard of it or not. The Startup Garage is not an accelerator like maybe some other people would do. It's also not an incubator. It's a venture client. That means what we basically do is we try to tackle and have a look at late-stage startups that already have a product that is proven. And that means basically that we are your partner to get into 1 million of cars. So if you have any technology that you think is valuable to us, we allow you to use our cars, our customers, our data sets to customize your product towards our needs. And then, of course, you already have a client that has proven and has a lot of customers around, so you can use it. So how does it work? Different people can, of course, suggest startups to be taken into the program of the Startup Garage. But after somebody suggests anybody is that you would go through an evaluation. That means we have people sitting in Germany that would have a look at the startup. And if they get selected, they'll run through a 4-month program. They'll work together with different types of business units that we have in Germany and also globally, of course. They'll learn from BMW how they interact with their industry, of course. They can adapt their product towards their big client, which is BMW. And of course, they can network within our company with different kinds of people. After that phase of 4 months where you have built the product, you would ideally pilot that product. And if you've proven yourself to be good or valuable, you would then start to work further with BMW and have kind of like a client relationship with them. I've also brought a video that I want to show you, which kind of explains the Startup Garage a little bit better.
Congrats! You made it. Almost. You started a company. You have a product or service that transforms the automotive industry. You have a great team. You even graduated from a leading accelerator or got capital from top investors. What now? What's most important to your success? Clients, right? But not any. You want a leading client, one with top products and services and a powerful brand. Above all, you want a client who ventures to adopt your solution early, even if it is still a prototype. One who helps you validate and refine your solution. We want to be your venture client, your early adapter in the automotive industry. For this, we created the BMW Startup Garage, your gateway into the global trillion-dollar mobility market. How? We offer a no-strings-attached partnership. Our goal? To integrate and apply your solution in real innovation projects. Beyond providing you with smart revenue, we provide you with resources right at the BMW headquarters. We give you direct access to our cars, tools, and above all, the world's best engineers. We also help you network with BMW and with our suppliers. Why does BMW do this? Because your startup can make a significant contribution to help us build the world's best premium mobility solutions. It's that simple. What do you think? Intrigued? Go to bmwstartupgarage.com to learn about our program.
So here's the contact details if anybody is in case interested, and you might wonder why I also talk about this, and I'll show that on the next slide as well. VeChain ran through the Startup Garage program, and we're still continuing working with them. So that might be a possibility for somebody else to get in touch with BMW and how to get into, of course, our cars to use that data. Maybe it might be worth to have a look at it. So the next and last topic that I brought is Verify Car, maybe the most interesting part for all of you guys. Me and my team, we've been working together with VeChain for, I would say, a little bit longer than a year now. I first met them, I think, 1.5 years ago, and we have built a, as you can see here, vehicle digital passport. And there have been quite some rumors around in the internet. So when we first kind of launched it, it was partnerships and nobody really knew what's going on. So to also clarify here, we work together with VeChain, and as I said, they run through the Startup Garage, and we continue working with them. So it's kind of a client-based relationship that we have here. What is Verify Car, and why do we use Verify Car? Most of you might not know that in Germany, every third used car that you sell has a manipulated odometer. It's not only BMW used cars, it's of course all cars that we have. And as you also might know here in the US, or where we come from, is that the price of a car is very much dependent on the kilometers that you've already been driven or miles that you've already been driven. So as you can see on the second point here, it really has a huge impact on the car price on the second-hand market. And not sure if anybody of you already bought a used car, but if you interact with the seller, they would mostly say, the car is in a good shape, no damages, I'm the first owner, you should totally buy it, it's a really good price for that. So what we really try to do is here really build a digital passport that verifies data sets and of course allows people to really have a look if what the seller is telling is also really true. And of course you can see there, it's very costly to find out if our odometer has been manipulated or not. So if even our dealerships or experts have a look at it, it takes quite some time. So it's quite challenging to show that the manipulation has been done. While at the other hand side, to manipulate a car or the odometer only takes 15 minutes. So what have we done? You can see here, we've built a digital ledger using, of course, the VeChain Thor blockchain, and every interaction of the car will have a stored hash key in the blockchain, of course. So that can be anything with changing a filter, changing the battery, having the annual service. And of course, our cars, they all have a SIM card. They send out data sets quite regularly. We store these data sets, we have a look at them, we verify them, and of course, we then make a call into the blockchain to also really prove that this call has already been made. So as you can see here on an architectural level is we have in-vehicle data sets that we send out, and on the other hand side, of course, we have external resources or sources that can be insurance companies as well that make calls into the ledger, or it can be car workshops or any other third party. So what's the goal and how is the current model? The current model is that everybody in the ecosystem has its own database, meaning that if I have a crash with my car, sometimes even the insurance company is the first to know that I had that accident, while we as BMW, of course, would like to gather as much information as we can. So you can see here, you have a lot of databases, and everybody claims to have a little bit of information, but you really don't have one single source of truth. What the targeted model at some point would be that you really have a distributed network of everybody interacting in this network or in this ecosystem, writing their data sets in that ecosystem, and of course, one app or any possibility for the customer to really show and prove what he has done. This is the application that we've built. We've already tested it with internal vehicles. The thing is, of course, for us, blockchain is also quite still a sensitive topic, also in Germany. People in Germany currently don't really know how to react on blockchain if something is stored and they hear news that something cannot be deleted afterwards again. So we really need to have a look at our business strategy and how to roll out, but we have proven that it works and we're keen to continue further. I'm here for the rest of the day, so if anybody of you has any questions, just come by and talk to me, but that will be it from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jihan. Everyone, please join me in welcoming the COO and Director at Draper Venture Network, Mr. Sid Mofia.
Good afternoon, everybody. Very glad to be here. Let me just go back on this. Okay. The image that you see up there, you've probably seen in the last couple of weeks. It's the image that scientists captured 2 years ago, but they unveiled on April 10th of a black hole. This particular black hole is 50 million light years away, and no single telescope on Earth is able to have the clarity to capture this kind of clarity on anything that's 50 million light years away. However, the reason I bring this up here is it demonstrates something that we all understand here and something that I represent with the organization I work with, and that is the power of networks. On April 10th, just under 2 weeks ago, 6 conferences were hosted around the world, concurrently, in different languages, to unveil this. And what it unveiled was the collaboration work of over 200 scientists over many years to come to this one image. And as I said, no single telescope could do this, but they created this virtual telescope, the size of the Earth, to be able to reach out 50 million miles. And as a director at the Draper Venture Network, we believe in the power of networks. I know you're all here because you believe in the power of networks. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time explaining our network and why we are particularly excited about working with VeChain. We backed VeChain several years back, and we think we're at the cusp of a real revolution in the way organization is done around the world. Okay, Niall Ferguson, in his book, The Square and the Tower, I see some nodding heads that have read the book, talks about 2 kinds of organization. He talks about hierarchies, which represent the tower, and he talks about the square, which represents networks. Hierarchies, we're very familiar with political parties, we're familiar with organizations. But Niall Ferguson claims that networks are the way that we have naturally, as human beings, interacted and transacted for all time. He claims also that history has been written by the people in the towers rather than the people in the networks, but the real history that is happening is the history that is happening in the networks. And I tend to agree. If you think about networks, we're all familiar now with how viruses spread around the internet, memes. If you think about clubs, if you think about cults even, those are all what Niall Ferguson would call representing the square and not the tower. And as a Draper Venture Network, we're actually organized as a network, and we believe that this is the new infrastructure for how we organize networks. This is a bit slower than I anticipated. Okay. I'm going to show you a video which just explains a bit more about the network, and then I'll talk more about it.
I started Draper Venture Network in 1990, and I did it because I knew that the Silicon Valley was not going to be the only place where real innovation happened.
We bring venture capitalists and their best portfolio companies from around the world, and we connect them to each other with the goal of helping the companies grow, succeed, and eventually exit.
We set up 800 meetings with large corporations looking to do pilots, partnerships, business development, corporate development, M&A with the startup community.
The meetings that we've been set up here at the conference today with AT&T, Twitter, Disney, these are absolutely dreams come true.
Every collision that you have, they all help your business. Well, we accelerate those collisions.
It's been really, really insightful to learn about what's happening on the leading edge of technology. Some really, really interesting sessions on blockchain and AI, which I've learned a lot from.
We have an online member portal for all of our entrepreneurs. They'll be able to log on and see VC contacts, CEOs around the world they can connect with, also corporate contacts.
Japan is, totally a different planet. You require a lot of help. The business culture is very different from a Western society. We have expertise, and we are there to guide all of our entrepreneurs all around the globe through this process.
Come to Silicon Valley, meet with not just other CEOs, but corporates, other investors outside of your own immediate environment. The value of doing that is huge.
Okay, that video was created by one of our member funds, Draper Esprit, that's based in London, and I'm grateful that I get to show it to you. Now a little bit about the Draper Network. The Draper Network is about 30 years old, was created by Tim Draper in 1990 as a way to be able to look at deals, investment deals in different parts of the US initially, and then ultimately to other parts of the world. We're organized as a self-governing unit of funds, so each of the funds in the network is independent, raises its own money, has its own LPs, its own investment thesis, and is pretty much independently, but the funds all come together to collaborate in ways that make sense for them to collaborate. And those ways that we do most of the collaboration on are doing deals together, so co-investing, sharing a lot of information around the network, around what is happening in the world, what are the new trends, what are the best ways for investors to be running their investment shop. And then we do a lot of work with portfolio companies, helping the portfolio companies to grow and to exit from the funds. We have a presence right across the globe. We're on 5 continents, 700 companies that are active right now that we're invested in. So we've got a very good global reach, over 66 cities around the world. I should really click this before I finish my sentence. Okay, there we go. Let me just... Okay, and in addition to the collaboration in terms of what the funds are doing, we have a full-time team here in Silicon Valley that's focused on supporting our portfolio companies. So we support them with corporate development, connecting them with large corporations around the world, scaling, and this is one thing that excites us about our work with VeChain, because they're scaling very fast around the globe. So we help them with that. And we provide inspiration and education to the CEOs through events, through online events, and also in-person events. Our biggest event is our CTO Summit that we host here in Silicon Valley every year, with over 200 of us, our portfolio CEOs attending, and all our VC partners, and over 100 corporations that join. And all this comes together into one private member portal where all our members are able to access all our resources. And this just shows a quick snapshot of some of the corporate relationships that we have developed over time.
that we make accessible to our portfolio companies. And in terms of success with this model, it's a network model, independent firms working together in a very networked way. This slide just shows some of the successes that we've had. And I would highlight one, which happened in true network style, which is the one on the bottom is Ledger. Our fund, Draper in London, wanted to invest in Ledger, and they wanted to put in more money in order to be able to win the deal. So Simon Cook, who runs Draper, approached Tim Draper here in the Valley to ask if he would want to go into the deal with him. And Tim Draper wasn't sure. So he was walking down the corridor asking if we knew about Ledger. And his son, Adam, who works downstairs running an accelerator called Boost, happened to be walking around, and we said, well, Adam should know, because this is what he does. And Adam says, of course, invest in Ledger. We use them for all our storage. They're a great company. And so the deal was done. And in addition to Draper in London and Tim's fund, Draper Associates, Draper Dragon, our US cross-border fund, also invested in the company. And some of our Draper Dragon friends are just sitting in the third row over there. So this model, we believe, works. And it's something that we want to extend to our work with VeChain. So we invested in VeChain a few years back, and we're really proud of what they're doing. What excited us about VeChain is that much like we in our network depend on trust to grow our network grows at the speed of trust. It also is the bottleneck. As much as we want to grow, we cannot grow faster than we can build the trust in our network. However, what VeChain are doing and what many of you in this room are doing is using the blockchain to reduce the cost of trust so that where we have needed intermediaries in the past, we've needed banks to verify that the money is there and verify that the money has been transferred from one place to another. And we needed insurance companies to make sure that the counterparty risk is taken care of. And we've needed Uber to take care of the fact that you've had a contract with a driver to take you from A to B, and the driver must take you from A to B, and then the driver wants to get the money for taking you from A to B, the cost of that trust is reducing. And that, for us, is very exciting, because now we have smart contracts that basically take out a lot of that cost. I believe we still need to trust each other, and that's going to be necessary for the foreseeable future, but whatever cost we can take out of the system by using smart contracts, we are very happy to use. The other reason we were excited about VeChain is because they've built this great global enterprise network, much like we have been building an enterprise network with the corporate partners that we work with. It's been very impressive what they've done over a very short period of time. More than 100 leading enterprises are part of their network, doing partnerships with VeChain. Some of the companies that they've partnered with, BMW was just here, the Louis Vuitton company, AWS, and it makes total sense for us to work together with them to help them to grow this network. In actual fact, at our last CEO Summit, every year we give one company an award, which is the Global Scaling Award, which goes to the company that has done the most to scale globally. As a global network, we want to celebrate that. And last year in November, we gave VeChain this award, the Global Scaling Award. And that picture is the General Counsel of VeChain, Scott Briskin, receiving the award from Tim Draper. So we're excited about this partnership. We're just getting started, but we believe the future starts here. The future is networked, and we want to be part of that revolution. So thank you.
Thank you, Sid. Everyone, please join me in welcoming the blockchain ambassador at Microsoft Azure, XIA.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is X. Yes, just the letter. There are other letters in my first name. Maybe if I get to know you a little better, you'll find out what those are. I am a blockchain ambassador at Microsoft, which means I help companies and communities discover use cases for blockchain and what they're trying to build. I've been with Microsoft for 3 years. I started as a developer, and before that, I was in the United States military building solutions for some of our nation's largest national security needs. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys not blockchain as a technology, but specifically the context that enterprise companies are starting to use and adopt blockchain. Instead of just taking a look at how blockchain works or talking about cryptography or just running through use cases in general, what I wanted to talk to you about today is a trend called ambient intelligence. Ambient intelligence isn't a new concept, but it's only been made possible or starting to become actualized because of the technological developments in blockchain. Ambient intelligence is when you take a or a physical environment and you turn it into a digital one through a combination of multiple technologies, and you make it so that that environment becomes sensitive and responsive to human needs. On a very low level, an example of ambient intelligence is the Xbox Kinect. So I don't know if anyone else had a different game system, it's okay, I did too. But the Xbox Kinect was a sensor that you could plug into the Xbox, and as you moved around the room, it could detect your movements and the game itself would react. It's a very low level of ambient intelligence. A more common use of it today is in like your smart speakers. So you may say, hey Alexa, give me Cortana, and then, hey Cortana, play me this song. That's another low level of ambient intelligence. Ambient intelligence is powered by 3 key technologies, the first being artificial intelligence, which is when you teach computers how to replicate human cognition or human thought processes. The second is the Internet of Things, which are a variety of sensors that can hook up a physical environment into a digital world. So think like a IoT-enabled temperature sensor, or maybe you have like those smart lights in your house where you can say, turn off my lights, and they turn off because they're connected to your Wi-Fi. And finally, blockchain. In the context of ambient intelligence or how it's being adopted, blockchain creates a secure, shared source of truth between multiple parties. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably like, wait, hold on, like, that's not what I've heard about blockchain. So I don't want to say that's what blockchain is on a technological level, but that's the use case that most companies are picking it up for. Now, the way that blockchain functions supports it being this secured, shared source of truth between multiple parties. First, blockchain stores all the data inside of a ledger, right? So kind of like an Excel spreadsheet, except it's on crack. You're not going to upload your videos in there. You're just going to upload your most valuable data that you need everyone to be on the same page about. Second, every person in a blockchain network has an identical copy of the data, but that data is synced in real time with everyone else's copy. So what that means is that everybody sees the same data at the same time, and because you can only update the network through consensus or rules that everybody agrees upon before time, it means that you can guarantee that no one party is tampering with that data. So instead of going off on a philosophical or technical tangent about it, I want to show you guys some real-world examples of how this is being used today. First, to recap real quick, in case you missed anything, ambient intelligence is where you take a digital environment, a physical environment, you turn it into a digital one. It uses AI, blockchain, and IoT. You may have already heard about the robots coming to replicate our jobs some point in the future, but most likely what you're going to end up seeing is a lot more ambient intelligence processes being developed. On to the use cases. First, let's take a look at 3M. So 3M is one of the world's largest producers of products. There's a saying that goes, you're never more than 10 feet away from a 3M product. 3M had an issue in their pharmaceutical supply chain line. The issue was that people were stealing the products, and they couldn't identify the point of failure or where the loss occurred. Did somebody steal the pills when they were going from a truck into a warehouse, from a warehouse into another truck, or were they actually going missing at the store? So what we did is we created a product in conjunction with them, because they're the tape company, is probably what you know them as, right? We created a secure 2-layer QR code system. This 2-layered QR code system was used on every single individual pill bottle. So as a new set of drugs was produced and it was moved down the supply chain line, it had this unique identifier attached to it. That identifier would send data every time it was scanned with an IoT-enabled scanner. It would send that data up to a blockchain network. On that blockchain network, it wasn't just 3M. It was the security team at 3M. It was also the trucking company who was maybe responsible for moving it. So that in real time, if I were attempting to defraud the system by, let's say, take a bottle of prescription pills with me, or if I was double scanning items trying to make it seem as if the inventory was okay, in real time, it would identify, you haven't actually moved all the units you're supposed to, and then it would kick off a smart contract to bill that vendor for the loss in real time. Meaning that instead of having to take that information, go inside of a truck, double count, double check it against other people's ledgers and make sure that all of the units were moved, and then send that over to finance, and then send it over to legal to compare against your contract, it was all built into the way that the system worked so that in real time, everyone would know where and how these items were going missing. Another example of this is with Schneider Electric, who's one of the world's largest producers of actual trucking equipment. And they had an issue in the food supply chain line with their refrigerated items, where every so often, truck drivers would cut off the refrigeration in the truck, attempting to save gas in the car, and then cut it back on when they were far enough distance away from their final destination so that it would refreeze or get back to the right temperature without anybody knowing. Now, this is very, very dangerous for food. Obviously, I don't want to eat something that's melted and been refrozen if it was supposed to be frozen the whole time, and I'm pretty sure no one in this room does. So what we did is we hooked up their vehicles to these IoT-enabled temperature sensors. Similar to 3M, it would send that data up into a blockchain network, and on that blockchain network was the trucking company, the end vendor, as well as Schneider themselves. So in the event that a truck, for any reason whatsoever, started to become too hot or too cold outside of the terms and conditions that they had agreed upon, it would kick off a smart contract and bill them for the loss in real time. Now, those are physical goods. What about digital goods? Well, let's take a look at Moog. Moog is a producer of schematics for like airplane parts all over the world, right? And so Moog wanted to make their process better when they were sending updates to their digital schematics to people who were going to end up 3D printing the parts. So whenever something needed to be replaced, instead of sending it over email, or maybe you want to guarantee that the end printers had the most up-to-date schematics, we digitized their asset process. And so what ended up happening was, as soon as they came up with a new part, they would create a digital schematic that would be updated to the blockchain network. As different vendors wanted to verify that they were working off the most recent data, like this is the absolute best version of this wing part that I'm trying to print, they would go and they would scan a QR code, which would then deliver them from the blockchain network the most updated schematic. So that way they could guarantee the security, the authenticity, and the accuracy of the digital asset that they were receiving, which in this case was the actual blueprint to print out this new airplane part. We did something very interesting with Carrefour, who is a large producer of foods out in the UK. And essentially, they had an issue where consumers are demanding now, not just like asking or, hey, please let me know. Consumers are starting to demand to understand where their products come from. They want to know, you said my chicken's free range, what does that actually mean? Because I see all these other brands printing it that I'm pretty sure don't do free range stuff. Wanting to verify the authenticity of the origin of a product. So working with them, we leveraged the QR codes that they were already printing on things like fruits and vegetables to be able to leverage those to deliver. I think my thing's sticking here. Okay, got it. So what we did is we made it so that those QR codes could deliver a certificate of authenticity about that particular product. Meaning that we would be able to tell you, yes, exactly where it came from, exactly the contents of it, very similar to what VeChain is doing now. Not that we're in competition, just wanting to open your imagination about some of the things that you can do on VeChain's platform. All right. Got it. So with that, I just wanted to do a quick recap and explain to you guys and open the room up for any questions that you may have about these kinds of blockchain solutions. Again, what we're seeing enterprises do is not just adopt blockchain as a standalone solution to any one product, but adopting it in a combination, alongside a combination of artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things to build environments that can respond to humans or transact without a bunch of people or processes in the middle. Are there any questions about what I've presented? Okay, cool. Oh, we have one. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of what we do, the question for those who couldn't hear in the room is this is all based on like Microsoft's products, obviously. So are there any like multi-cloud solutions or any operability between different cloud providers? So to answer that question very simply, yes. What we build is our infrastructure allows you to spin up other blockchain protocols on our network very quickly. So say you want to create a consortium of Hyperledger Fabric, but you want to not have to deal with authentication, setting up the network, how people get in and out. If you were to spin it up on Microsoft Azure, it would do that immediately, but it would open it up with REST APIs out of the box. So if you needed to connect that to any service on any other cloud, you're able to do so. As it stands right now, you can't like spin up a blockchain network with our kit that then adds a node on AWS or something like that. But you are able to integrate pretty much any data system that has a REST API into your blockchain network. So you can ingest data in it, or you can send data out from it into another system and work from there. It's a great question. All right. Well, thank you for your time today. I was hoping there would be a little more dialogue in the room, but I appreciate you guys and look forward to seeing more ambient intelligence solutions in the future.
Thank you, X. Everyone, please join me in welcoming our next guest speaker, the co-founder at Cream, Mr. Jackson Fu.
Good afternoon. So who's awake? Like half of you, all right? We've been listening to the great adoption of the enterprise-level blockchain of VeChain for a long time already. But now, what I do, and with my background and my team, we bring a little bit different type of adoption into the VeChain Tor blockchain, all right? So Cream is a ecosystem builder. We help build this ecosystem, and we're very, very dedicated, starting from 2017, basically right after the token issuance of VeChain. We hopped on board, we partnered with VeChain, we partnered with Sunny and Kevin and worked very closely with the team to do a few things, all right? But I'm going to go into that a little bit later down the line. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what Cream is, stands for, what we believe, all right? So who we are, we're a leading strategic coaching, incubation, and investment firm that utilizes the blockchain technology and also utilizes the tokenization to make a business better, all right? So our belief is that blockchain technology is a tool, and it's one of the greatest inventions in human history, of course, but it's still a tool to help us, everybody in this world, to have a better life through making our businesses, our government, our projects better, right? That's our belief. We don't believe in that, this is my personal opinion and our team's opinion, that we don't believe the blockchain is going to, completely revolutionize everything in this world. We don't believe that. But we want to use blockchain, we recognize the importance of blockchain in order to make our life better, all right? And we believe in 5 things, right? The first thing is blockchain technology is empowering. Blockchain technology is empowering to everyone, okay? Especially what we believe very adamantly is that blockchain technology empowers the little people, right? So let's take one step back, philosophically take one step back. Think about what VeChain is doing right now, right? This is kind of like the secret that, but no one really talks about, but this is what we're doing. Think about this. VeChain is a public blockchain. Things, data on blockchain, on the public blockchain are immutable, right? So, and VeChain right now is trying really hard to infiltrate the Fortune 500 of the world, right? The Bank Americas of the world, the HSBCs of the world, right? By using the blockchain to blockchainize a portion of those big businesses, big governments, we are actually bringing them closer to the little people because they can't change a portion of that data once it's on there, right? In another way, now that I'm the little guy and I am looking at the data on this large corporation, I am empowered, right? Because the big corporation, in that aspect, he can't do anything to me. In that way, we're actually shrinking the power struggle of the larger guys and the little guys. That's number one. Blockchain is empowering. Number 2, right? We believe that blockchain technology, in this case, the business adaptation, enterprise adaptation portion, is dysfunctional or will be dysfunctional without a great, robust tokenization or tokenized economy, all right? This is what we believe. That's why one of our really main focus is to take a great business, a startup, and we restructure it in a way that the startup utilizes the blockchain technology and at the same time utilizes a robust token economy in order to make the business a better business, all right? That's what we're doing, number 2. Number 3, it's all about the community. Right? We've been talking about that forever, and I think VeChain and Cream, we really put money where our mouth is. Every single decision that we've made is literally for the benefit of the community, for the stakeholder of this ecosystem. So you guys, and us, everybody, we're all stakeholders of this ecosystem, and we're in it together. This is what we believe. Everything we do, we want to bring everybody in. Toolchain is to bring everybody in. Setting examples using these large corporations is eventually to bring everybody in, all right? We believe the community is basically the most important thing about any blockchain-related project. Number 4, blockchain-based companies, they're still companies. There's still a entity, a venture to go out there and try to make the ecosystem or the community of the company a better one, right? And in that case, we've seen a lot of crypto projects or blockchain-related projects that are very, very tech-driven, right? But what we want to see is really solution-driven, right? You have to find a problem that you can solve with blockchain technology and then execute it and implement it, right? And make a plan to make this problem go away. And in order to do that, you need to have a CEO, CTO, you need to have the whole shebang, right? You need to have a functional team that is well-rounded. And I believe a blockchain project, you still need a functional team to thrive, not just the tech, right? Tech is about half of it. And the other half is something else. So when you're thinking about creating a startup, VeChain or blockchain, that's what you need to think about. You can't just think about, I have an idea, and I have the tech guy and the devs to create that particular product, and then I'm open for business. No, you're not. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes in order to make something great. And we believe well-rounded team is very, very important. All right? 5 things. This is 4. So 1 more. We believe that VeChain is number 1. All right? So, you've heard quite a bit of very sophisticated, Big Four, a lot of Big Fours, that they've been talking about using VeChain, DNVGL using VeChain. A lot of Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 2000 companies, they are using VeChain Door blockchain to further their costs. All right? One of the biggest reasons that I think a lot of our colleagues had actually talked about is the fact that the logic is this. Public blockchain is the only thing that works, in my opinion. All right? And in order to use a public blockchain, you need to incentivize and keep everybody within your community or ecosystem to be a stakeholder. Therefore, a token is needed, right? And in order to power this blockchain, a token is needed to be burned as gas. That's the essence of public blockchain, right? Someone needs to pay for this infrastructure. And using every other blockchain, the users of that particular blockchain-powered application would have to own cryptocurrency. So how many of you actually bought, all right. How many of you have not bought any cryptocurrency before in your life? Raise your hand. Oh, no, you're not gonna raise. Okay, how many have you bought cryptocurrency? This is a really bad crowd for this. So about 90%. So the rest of the 10% of the people, you've either tried it or thought about it. You probably thought about it for like 2 years already, but you never pulled the trigger. Shame on you, right? But it's really hard as a beginner, as a noob, to log on to a Coinbase and then buy something and then transfer this Bitcoin or Ethereum, what have you, onto an exchange and then exchange to something else and then deposit it into another wallet, and then all of a sudden you figure, oh, I can't transfer it. You think that something's stuck because you don't have gas on Ethereum, and then you lose your private key, right? It's really funny. One side note, 1 minute, that I've read a white paper before, back in 2017, that the losing private key for community members is actually one of the ways that they put there for the token utility. How their token can increase in value is people will eventually lose their private keys. And a lot of you guys who know me know which project that is. I'm not gonna say it by name. But what I'm saying is VeChain's technology enables normies, newbies, who's never ever touched the cryptocurrency before, to actually use VeChain public blockchain powered applications, all right? And that is revolutionary. And that is something that no other public blockchains can do at this point, all right? Thank you. All right. So so after, now y'all know that I am really into VeChain, right? And really into VeChain, so, oops. So let me jump into a little bit about, because I'm really into VeChain, I've decided to, with my partners, to build our business around supporting the ecosystem. And one of the entities that we have, one of the brands that we have, is called Cream Method, right? Cream Method is the method of cream, right? It's how we bring projects from outside of VeChain ecosystem, bring them to kind of come in here and be part of the family. So what we do is we look at a project, we look at a company, and we go and talk to the founders, like how a venture capital or a private equity investor, how they do their due diligence at the beginning, right? And then we go in, and usually startups, they need a lot of help, right? So we're actively engaged in helping these startups to create a business model that makes sense. At the same time, we want to pivot their business model so they can adopt blockchain. So we kind of coined the term a long time ago. It's called blockchainization, right? So I want to blockchainize you. We believe that when a company adopts blockchain, it becomes empowered. So the next thing what we do is we issue a token on top of this blockchain adaptation. So with the logic, with a token, then you can actually have a community built, right? So company here, the foundation that issues the token here, the community underneath these two entities kind of pushing it up because everybody is a stakeholder, right? So goodbye to the old days of I'm the company, you're the customer, we fight head-to-head all the time, you overcharge me all the time, I have to call and I'll sue you. No more of that, right? Everybody is a stakeholder, everybody is working towards the same goal. So that's what we want to build. And when we find out that your team is, number one, very executional driven, smart, you guys are very easy to work with, and by definition, we think that your business will go places, in this case, then we will actually invest in you, all right? And at the same time, we will actually make the blockchainization happen, we will make the tokenization happen, and at the same time, going forward, we will actually make the community thrive. And in turn, your business will thrive. So that's sort of like the circle that we're trying to paint. And we've done that with quite a bit of projects. And I'm going to be showing you one, and you guys will be meeting quite a bit of them today. All right? This is new. All right? We're going to have an investment arm that's affiliated with the Cream Method. It's our affiliation of investment arm. We're going to use this entity to invest. And for this entity, we will have a bunch of our own money, and we welcome any limited partners to kind of invest with us. Fialux investments. So how many of you here went to Cal? UC Berkeley. Go Bears. So that's actually, Fialux is the Latin for let there be light, and is the motto for UC Berkeley. And I'm from Cal. My buddy David's from Cal. Lila's from Cal. We have over there. So that's a tribute to my school. So our team, because the nature of our business, we're actually, I like to use, I think Sunny's term, is we're babysitting, startups, all right? We're not just babysitting. I am known to be sort of like a dictator once they go in, and we just help projects go step by step to be really good, in my opinion, right? So our team is actually global. We have team in all those places: San Francisco, Vegas, East Coast, Amsterdam, Netherlands, Italy, India, Singapore, Malaysia. We have teams in China, Australia, Japan. I think I've missed a couple places, but we're everywhere. And we are 24/7. So once you are being incubated by us, so we'll be hounding you 24/7. That's basically what it is. All right. So what have we done for VeChain? We got together with VeChain in 2017, and we've been working very, very closely with the senior managers of VeChain on lots of things. And mainly, we help expand VeChain's branding strategy. If you follow us, will know that we kind of really helped out with the rebranding process and bring in the larger scope, bring the narrative of the larger scope to VeChain, right? And to shape and develop a community strategy. Our strategy is that our community, this is our strategy. Our strategy is we want to focus on the really smart people within crypto, right? So we're trying not to hype too much. We're trying not to do any of the really negative things that people are always doing and accusing me of doing, whatever. So whoever that's settled down within VeChain ecosystem, the community members are usually professionals, executives, really smart guys. Notice we never do any airdrops, really, because we don't believe in that. We want innate value to grow within our ecosystem that our tokens represent, right? And we help structure the capital strategy. And we're going to be helping out with the big fund, $500 million fund that we're going to be helping out to raise for us. Oh, whoops. This is not updated. Sorry. It's missing a logo here, but what we've done before so far is all these brands, all these logos that you've seen, plus CISO, actually, we've advised and we've brought onto the VeChain ecosystem. So you must know probably very well all of them. With all these projects, we've helped out greatly in terms of strategizing, just pushing it out into the market. And I'm going to be talking about 8 hours, right, in a little bit. 8 Hours Foundation, that's the booth over there. 8 Hours / Playtable is our newest project that I wanted to kind of plug a little bit. 5 minutes, great. So the 8 Hours Foundation is actually a movement, all right? So I see a lot of you are looking at your phones throughout the day. I see a lot of you are looking at your phones while you're talking to your loved ones and your kids and your girlfriend or boyfriend, your wife, husband, whatever. You shouldn't be doing that. Technology is supposed to bring people together, not push them away, right? And 8 Hours Foundation basically says, give your loved ones 8 hours a week to get together and just play video games together, and your life would be a lot better, right? So it's a very, very simple push, and this is what we're trying to do. And the medium and the tool that we're going to be using to facilitate 8 hours a week is Playtable. So Playtable, it's world's first blockchain-enabled tabletop game console with physical collectible pieces that is attached onto the blockchain, and you can actually play with them. Each of these figurines, it could be, like a dragon, right, or a wizard. The dragon or the wizard or the shaman, they can actually own their own sort of wallet, right? And you can actually stake more tokens into them, make them more valuable. At the same time, they will record the blockchain and the tech will actually record the level of this particular game piece. And if, let's say, Kobe Bryant using this particular wizard and he somehow wins some kind of tournament, then this wizard would be worth a lot of money, right? And with a lot of collector's value. So when I saw this project, and it actually fits everything that VeChain is trying to push out. They have IoT needs, IoT technology needs, needs of NFT, needs of NFT, needs of NFC, and the needs of basically community building, the needs of so everything fits perfectly. And we love to have Playtable and 8 Hours to be part of the VeChain family. And that's on the sort of the big picture. But one thing that I have to kind of plug is their team. Their team and advisors are really top-notch. On one little thing that the story that I want to tell you about how executional focused these guys are. So I was basically, telling John, the CEO, you'll see him in a little bit, create a referral link for everybody. The community, we have hundreds and thousands of people who will fall in love with Playtable. They just don't know it yet, but they will. And they want to help you promote this thing. So create a referral link so that everybody within the community can help you promote Playtable. He sent the website and the link to me in 6 minutes. Right? 6 minutes, I have it in my mailbox. It was done. It's like, use this. Right? That's the kind of executional focus that we're looking for. I was so impressed that I've decided that the private sale is going to run until in the next, at the end of the month. And if they're not sold out, I'm going to take all of it. That's my decision. All right. So you can find me. So thoughts on going forward. So our job, I want to focus on just proactively bringing good companies and good projects onto the VeChain platform. Right? That's my job. Not the big enterprises. You've got a bunch of really professional people to do that. I want to bring the startups. I want to bring the companies that's already being invested by Draper, by MIT, by Sequoias of the world. I want to bring those companies into the VeChain ecosystem, right? By blockchainizing and tokenizing the company. And we want to be the dominating force to do that. And which, right now we're actually doing quite a bit. But I hope going forward, because more and more of companies like us are joining the ecosystem, we hope that we can stay ahead of the pack. And we want to go into fund management as well, but that's just the nature of we're going to have a lot of great product, great companies coming in, and I invite like-minded individuals to come invest alongside with us. All right? And that is it. 10 seconds. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jackson. Everyone, please join me in welcoming the VeChain Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, the final open session of Summit giveaway will begin at 4 p.m. Claim your rewards now by using Sync of VeChain Thor mobile wallet. Everyone, please join me in welcoming the VeChain Foundation Advisory Board Member, Mr. Daniel Kelman.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for coming here today. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you for listening to me talk about legislation for enterprise adoption. So why is legislation important? Specifically, why is legislation for enterprise adoption important? Well, the TLDR is that enterprise adoption more or less requires it. We as individuals don't really need legislation for us to use blockchain applications. In fact, this whole industry has been more or less built off people who were pioneers just deciding they wanted to use this technology. And there are projects out there that don't really need legislation to achieve a certain level of success. But enterprises are different. And to take this industry to the next level, we need enterprise use, investment, and most importantly, adoption. There's tremendous resources out there waiting on the sidelines that we want to bring in. And enterprises are different than individuals. They assess risk differently than individuals. They are targets for lawsuits. They have large teams of lawyers advising them on all types of things that you and I might think are trivial for ourselves and we wouldn't worry about. And a lot of enterprises that are in multiple jurisdictions may have their own regulators. So they have other regulators to contend with. So they have to minimize risk. And, you know, like individuals, some enterprises are more conservative than others. Some are more willing to take risks. But all have this same core need to minimize risk. And how do they do that? They seek regulatory clarity. And so what we're trying to do is get enterprises as much regulatory clarity as we can. But there's a challenge here, right? Because if you enact legislation, you're putting up some barriers to people doing business. You might make it a little more difficult for them. So successful legislation will attract business. It won't push it away. And there's a lesson to be learned here, and it's instructive for us to think about the bit license for a minute. For those of you who don't know, in 2015, New York State passed a law. It was called the bit license. And New York State believed that they were the center of the financial universe, and that they were such an important jurisdiction that if they passed this law, the bit license, that everyone would have to comply with it eventually. And what happened was a lot of companies just said, you know what? I don't do business in Iran, I don't do business in North Korea, and now I don't do business in New York. So why did this happen? It happened because they had a 500-page application that you had to fill out, and that took 2+ years to get approved, and you probably wouldn't get approved even after spending hundreds of thousands, perhaps $1 million on legal fees. So this is not something that a startup business or really any business wants to go through. And so this is in the back of our heads when we're considering how to craft legislation that's going to be successful and that's going to attract business. It also bears mention here that smaller jurisdictions without large competing industries are best suited to adopt new legislation. In New York, part of the problem might have been that the banking industry and those big players who were already there didn't want a new competitor to show up. And that legislation, the bit license, actually grandfathered all of the banks in. So the goal should be to attract new business, not insulate existing business from competition. So what are some items that successful legislation should provide for? Well, number one, you have to have a clear definition of what an ICO, ITO, or STO, right? Initial offerings. What is a token? What are you allowed to do? What are you not allowed to do? In the US, you have the Howey test, and it is anything but clear. It's not made by a legislature. It's made by judges. Different judges apply it differently, and the test itself is very unclear. In 2017, if you wanted to list a project, you had to get a letter from a lawyer saying that you weren't a security, that you didn't pass the Howey test. But this didn't provide clarity. This just, at best, placed you into a gray zone. Now, this might be fine for individuals. It was fine for me. I was fine to invest in a lot of those projects based off that. But enterprises, by and large, want more clarity than that. And so legislation has to provide a more clear way of determining what tokens are allowed to be listed on exchanges and what aren't. Now, the SEC might say, well, yeah, the Howey test isn't clear, but you can just comply with securities regulations. Well, that doesn't work for a number of reasons, one of which being that they're Our industry is new, and those securities regulations were crafted in the 1930s. So in a sense, it's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. So we need something new. It has to be simple, and it has to take into consideration that these tokens are issued in jurisdictions all over the world. So we need a method for recognizing tokens that are issued in foreign jurisdictions. Another area that's very important for successful legislation involves stablecoins. And the goal here should be to foster enterprise use and investment in stablecoins. Stablecoins, or enterprises, should be able to invest in them, but also, and ideally, use them in their day-to-day business. And so everyone here is probably familiar with USDT, USD Tether. They've been the market leader, and I personally use them, and I'm quite confident that they have all the USD to back their token, but the market has at times disagreed. The price of one Tether in the past, I think as recently as last October, fell to roughly 80-some cents. I was pretty confident they had the money. I thought it was a good trade. But those kind of things, that's something that's a cause for concern for an enterprise. If they're not sure that they've been audited, and no stablecoins today can show an audit. If they're not sure how they're conducting custody. These are concerns their legal teams would raise. But they're concerns that can be cleared up through legislation and a simple registration system for stablecoins. There are also AML concerns, which can be mitigated by wallet whitelisting, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. Another area that successful legislation should provide for is exchange, licensing, and trading. You know, there are a lot of exchanges out there. I should say a lot. There's a lot of exchanges, and some do it right, and some don't. The Bitwise report, some of you may have read, was provided to the SEC a few weeks ago, and it detailed that some exchanges were not engaging in market manipulation or fake trading volumes and had no custody issues, but that some were. And this is a concern for enterprises as well. How do enterprises know which exchange to use and which not to use? How do they know which ones are going to have risk and which ones won't? One way to make this clear to them is to have a licensing system. And you have a regulator who would check on these certain things, and that blessing from the regulator would let an enterprise know that they're not being negligent in engaging the services of that exchange. Another area of interest are crypto funds. So you have enterprises out there that will most certainly want to invest in the local jurisdiction that passes this legislation, and you have to provide a fund structure for them to be able to do so. And this is an area that also benefits individuals, because individuals, many of whom may not be accredited investors, may still want to participate in investing in this ecosystem. They can do that today by setting up a foreign company, but for most people it's kind of complicated. And so one of the things we're advising on is that it would be a great idea to set up a special purpose vehicle, an entity that individuals could easily set up to conduct trading activity as a local entity and not as a foreign individual. And so what are some of the things that VeChain has been doing to support this legislation? Well, you know, VeChain tends to play the role of an enabler, providing protocols that teams can build on top of. And so in the area of auditing, for instance, PwC, Deloitte, and others can conduct auditing functions using technology developed by VeChain. VeChain can also provide smart contract certification technology, block explorer technology, custody services using a hardware security module that's been developed by VeChain. We've also government taxation. And this one's kind of interesting. You know, I think most people have the idea about taxation. Well, you make some money and some of it goes to the government and you keep the rest of it. But it's really not so simple, especially in terms of enforcement. If you're a small country and you have businesses all over the world, they're all submitting, tax returns, and how do you audit them? It's really, enforcement becomes a very big issue. And also, if your taxes are too high, you're not going to attract a lot of business. So how do you entice governments to pass legislation to bring in these businesses if they're not going to make any money from this? There has to be a win-win. So low taxes are one thing, but also being creative and thinking up alternative ways to raise revenue. One idea is to simply have the government collect, say, 1% of the tokens raised in an ICO or 1% sold. So in other words, the government could then become a stakeholder in the entire industry instead of just taking a piece of the profit from profitable companies. And that way of raising funds, taking the 1% of tokens raised in an ICO, would involve zero enforcement effort, because that could be written right into a smart contract. And as the funds are paid out to people in the ICO, the 1% could be diverted as payment for being allowed to conduct your initial coin offering. Perhaps most important for our industry, VeChain's been doing a lot to discuss with these governments how to incorporate anti-money laundering and know your customer enforcement policies into the legislation. AML laws are more or less written by an international body called the Financial Action Task Force. And local governments don't really have a lot of say to disagree with them. If they disagree, if they don't put the laws in place that the FATF, the Financial Action Task Force, wants, they can lose their banking. So you have to find ways to work within that framework. And this has been a difficult area for our industry, largely because it's very hard to get banking. Talk to anyone you know who's in a company dealing with crypto. Getting banking is a real challenge. And it's partly because there are some banks that believe that, well, crypto's competing with us, yeah, we just don't want to deal with a competing industry. But the real issue is that they don't understand the AML control systems that crypto companies put in place. They don't have confidence that they're doing it, and perhaps that fear is rightfully placed for many companies. But there's a lot that can be done to address this. One of the solutions that we've discussed is creating like a wallet whitelist registry, whereby people KYC themselves, and their KYC information goes into a database. Database could be controlled by the government or controlled by some third party hired by the government. The point is there's a central place where everyone's KYC is kept. And all of these people who've been KYC'd would be issued addresses, and those addresses would be whitelisted. So then you could transact with those people knowing full well that they've passed KYC, that those transactions would be legitimate, that you'd be able to track and find out who sent what transaction to who if it became an issue. And this has other advantages too. One, when you have to engage in a transaction, you have to send all of your KYC information to the other party. This is incredibly time consuming. How much time is wasted sending all of your documents to some new company every time you want to do a transaction? I mean, hours and hours of time are wasted. And two, it's risky, because your information, your personally identifiable information, is now, if you do 100 transactions with 100 companies, there's 100 different companies out there with your information, any one of which could get hacked, and your information ends up on the dark web, and potentially you could be the victim of identity theft. This solution would cut down on all of that. So cryptocurrency is a lot different than cash, even though banks tend to liken it to cash, and we're trying to think of solutions that hit upon that strong point, where to show where cryptocurrency is in fact different from cash and should be treated differently from an AML KYC perspective. And so, VeChain has been doing things to help small countries like San Marino create valuable transactions. And in fact, we are working with San Marino, and we are going to put legislation in place with San Marino to do just that. So I believe that change will come in this area, not from large jurisdictions, because there's too many competing interests, too many existing industries, lobbyists, etc. But small jurisdictions right now have a unique opportunity to attract enterprises by creating a favorable environment to them to implement blockchain solutions. So we look forward to working with San Marino and working with other jurisdictions who are interested as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Everyone, please join me in welcoming the CTO at OceanEX, Mr. Jiayu Zhou.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jiayu. I'm from OceanEX. It's very exciting to hear so many interesting talks today and so many interesting projects going on. And let me ask you one question first. What is the keyword today besides VeChain? What is the most frequent word you hear? Anyone? Blockchain? Except for that? Crypto transaction. How about ecosystem? Right? Ecosystem is one of the terms, when Sunny gave the keynote talk today, that's the most impressive word to me. And then, over the past few years, we see so many great projects been going on in the VeChain ecosystem. And for those ecosystems to survive and thrive, one of the key things we have to do is make sure we have a very good infrastructure to support them, right? And one of the infrastructure we think is most important is we have a good exchange. All right, so OceanEX is trying to build such exchange for the VeChain ecosystem. So what is OceanEX? OceanEX is an AI-powered cryptocurrency exchange within the VeChain Thor ecosystem, right? So a few keywords. One is AI. So you heard about a lot of AI been doing this great things over the world, beat humans in playing video games and then do a lot of security stuff. So AI can definitely help us to achieve a lot of wonderful things within crypto domain. And the second thing is we're doing the exchange, as I just mentioned, is one of the critical part in the blockchain and within the VeChain ecosystem, of course, right? And then what's the goal of the OceanEX? So our goal is pretty simple. It's 3 highlights. One is we need to offer the best trading experience. So the best trading experience does not only involve good interface. Of course, we'll need it, right? We'll need a good amount of good products. We need a good amount of liquidity. And we need a good amount of financial options, right? That's one thing. The second thing is the security. We realize that a lot of products being built up, a lot of values being accumulated in the ecosystem actually need to be protected by the exchange. What if your exchange get hacked, right? All the projects is going to be compromised, right? So we try so hard to build such good projects, and it's been theft by others. That's something we don't want to do. So we incorporate security in the first day in our design. And third thing is that we exercise the most stringent KYC and AML policy. So we hope that this could help us pave the way to global compliance so we can serve the customers around the world. All right? A short introduction for the team. So we are very happy. We had a very good team members with diverse backgrounds. So we have Xiaoning, who is the founder of the BitOcean and a chief advisor of the VeChain ecosystem. And me, myself, I had a PhD in computer science, and specifically in artificial intelligence and machine learning. So a lot of my research projects are actually funded by V-Research, part of the VeChain Foundation. Right? And then we have Daniel as the last speaker. It's a very famous attorney and who did a lot of exciting cases in the blockchain. And we have our COO, Wei Wang, who is unfortunately not here today. And he has a very significant amount of experience in traditional finance world, and then also a very successful startup guy who founded 2 companies before joining us. And we have our Chief Security Officer, Dr. He Zhu, who is over there as well. And he has done a lot of interesting work in the security. He had a PhD in security and cloud security especially. All right, so we have a very diverse background, and we hope that this perfect combination can help us achieve the best crypto exchange in the world, right? All right, so review the milestones we had in the past year. So we started to plan this project in last May when we were attending the consensus conference, right? And then in the last October, we had our ICO where we ended up with 5 times of oversubscription, which is pretty impressive, I would think. And then thank you everyone for your support. And in the November, what we do is we launched a few tests, and then we launched our beta test, which is the first launch of our exchange, right? And in the December, we listed Safe Haven, and then in the January, we are listed in the CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap. So especially, I have to mention that in the January, we once get the #1 in the VET transactions by CMC, all right? And we also start, in the last January, we start to offer services to institutional customers, right? And February and March, we basically start to offer a lot of, at least a lot of tokens, including the TikTok, OCE, of course, and Plier, and DBET, right? And in this month, basically our statistics give you some kind of a review, and we had like 50,000 users with 34,000 of them being KYC'd. So that's, I believe we can say it's pretty strong growth momentum, and we are pretty happy that we have this start, and we believe this start can lead us to the best exchange in the world. All right? So this is a DevConf, so it's more like a technical conference. So we're going to talk a little bit about the technical aspects, right? So the technical aspects, the first question we start to think about is how does a crypto exchange different from any other web applications? We have so many web applications in the world. We have a lot of e-commerce systems, a lot of trading systems. So how does a crypto exchange differ from any of them, right? So if you take a look at the website of our exchange or websites of any other exchange, you will find out it is a website, right? We have the user login, we have the user sign up, meaning that we maintain a database where we can record the user's information and start to update it. And then we have the market display where we can display the historical information to the users through some kind of API. And we can also place orders, right? Market orders, limit orders, and then we can change the database through this API. So if you take a look at this, you will realize it is a website. But being a website is just the tip of the iceberg of challenges what we're facing, right? Building a web application is easy, but building a crypto exchange is very hard, right? Let me list you a few challenges we have, right? One is reliability. You know that the New York Stock Exchange, it starts at 9:30 and closes what? 4:30, right? 4:30, and then we have the market close. And the market close, you can do a lot of things. You can shut down your system and do maintenance, backup. You can do whatever you want. You can upgrade your system. Not for a crypto exchange, right? How many crypto exchanges do you think is close market? You don't, right? Crypto exchange, like the Ocean Exchange, is 24/7. That means when you design the system, you should minimize the impact of service interruption. When you update it, when you maintenance, you have to do everything online. So that's the first challenge we have. And the second thing is high performance, right? Crypto exchange, just like another exchange, will need to have a lot of high-frequency users, right? Some of the statistics we have to show you is that last month, we have 270 million requests from our customers. That means a few hundreds per second. We have to process that fast before our system can crashes, right? If we can't reach that amount of response time, then our system's going to be crashed anytime, right? The third thing is that we have to make sure our system has compliance. So we need to integrate the third-party KYC and AML system and make sure every single transaction happened in OceanEX has been audited, right? And the next thing we have is interoperability. I believe if you work with one ecosystem, that's OK. But if you're working with different blockchains, which means you need to connect to different systems, different blockchain systems, you need to work with them. It seems like easy, but a lot of times it's not easy. It's not that easy, because a lot of times you have coding errors from other platforms, which if you don't design your system well, it can crash your system, right? And then, of course, account safety. This exchange is just like a bank. It's to deal with money. So you need to make sure that every login, every withdrawal, every deposit, is a credit to the right person, right? And the last and most important thing is the security, right? Security, I would say, is the single most important thing in an exchange, because we have to manage millions of private keys. Not just one private key. We have millions of private keys. We have tens of thousands of users. Each user, you have different tokens. And then all those private keys are maintained in our servers. So that's a big challenge, right? In order to tackle all these challenges, we have done a lot of things. First thing we do is we use the cloud infrastructure. So we build our system on top of cloud. Right? We're not going to review what type of cloud we're using, but basically we're using a very elastic computing power supplied by one provider. And then whenever a market is very active, we can scale up our infrastructure pretty easily, right? 10 times our computing power, just click. Right? And whenever market is pretty stable, people are getting sleepy, and then we can scale down to maintain our cost. Right? First thing. Second thing is that, as I just mentioned, exchange is quite complicated. We have over 300 services are talking to each other in any moment. Right? In order to maintain, deploy, and upgrade those services, we need some kind of tools, and we use the Kubernetes. And we're very fortunate we work with this, and then we can maintain those services perfectly. Right? And we also have our CDN. We offer this kind of local cache to the users. So sometimes when they load big static files, they can be pretty fast. And we also built a very comprehensive monitoring and alerting system, so that whenever something happens in the system, either the markets, infrastructure, anything tends to go wrong, then we will know in the first place. Right? And we also built a pretty unique component. It's our big data analytics. So what this guy doing is porting all this big amount of data, this big traffic, let's say the trading activity, user activity, and we have those deposit and withdrawals, everything, every single activity being ported to some components we call Ocean Brain, which is our machine intelligence component, which can help us with a lot of things, which I will mention later, right? And then also, of course, one important stuff is our wallet management system. So that's related to the security, and that's one of the most sophisticated systems we ever built to make sure that the user's assets are safe, right? And then why security is such an important thing. When people talk about crypto exchange, one thing is saying that you get hacked. Once you get hacked, you lose a lot of money, right? So this is one statistic from a third-party company. And then you can see a lot of big names on it. MT Gox, apparently, it's very famous, been getting hacked a long time ago, and another Japanese cryptocurrency company as well. You can see a lot of big names there, right? Of course, some companies like Binance, when they get hacked, they don't report how much money they get hacked. So it's not there, but it doesn't mean that it does not exist. All right? So in total, starting from the very beginning of the crypto world, we have $1.5 billion being stolen. What does it mean? Let me translate that. That means $2.7 million US being stolen every day. That's a good incentive for us not doing crypto exchange, but doing this hacking activities, right? Right? So, you know, if we can make like half of them, that's going to be good enough for us, right? Well, so how do we do to protect the user's assets? So we have done a lot of things. You know, every single line of code in our system, we consider those unforeseeable risks, right? So we have provided very good, as we just mentioned, the infrastructure and marketing monitoring. Once something bad going on, you know, our system will be shutting down automatically. So we don't even need to push a button before we can find something suspicious, right? We have very good, you know, as I just mentioned, we have over 300 services are talking to each other. So those services don't trust each other, right? Even though one service has been compromised, you know, it won't hurt other services because other services don't trust them, right? And we have our defensive engineering design, so we assume everyone will be adversarial, right? And then we have zero trust communication protection, meaning that all those all those external and internal communications are being protected, are in good hands, right? And also, of course, something we need to highlight is our adaptive code storage and hold reserve. It is something we're going to talk about later. All right? And then we also have partnered with a lot of companies. So we partnered with SlowMist. So before we even launch our test, our beta test and alpha test, we use SlowMist penetration test, very comprehensive penetration test, lasts over 1 month to detect. They perform different kinds of attacks to our system. So we make sure all those attacks will fail. Second thing is that, you know, as you probably know, our crypto exchange suffered from DDoS attack from the very first day of our launch. So we actually partnered with Cloudflare to set up a very sophisticated firewall so we can differentiate among those 207 million requests. What are the good ones? What are the bad ones? So we don't have to worry about the bad ones that's crashing our system, right? And also we're planning to conduct some kind of sensors on our smart contracts by partnering with the Certic. So they have this automatic program to help screening all the smart contracts, right? And do you think that's enough? We have done everything we can, right? We have done everything we can. But if we assume we're good, we're in good hands, then that's not something we do, right? Because there's no absolutely secure system in the world, right? Think about that. If you only have one line of code and your computer is disconnected from the world, then you probably can have a 100% safety system. But that's not going to exist in the world, right? So there's no absolute security in the world that we think. We'll buy this concept because we take a look at a lot of companies, those big ones, those Yahoo, those Marriott, you know, even those U.S. Government agencies, right? They spend millions and tens of millions of dollars to protect their infrastructure. They still get hacked anyway. So if we assume that we tried our best and the customers are safe, that's not right. So we have to think of one step forward. What if something bad happened? Can we prepare for unsustainable risks that other people are, you know, without worrying their assets? We start worrying about it, but we're not the first cryptocurrency company, and we're not the first website that's dealing with money, right? The banks are doing a lot of things, right? We bank, you know, different banks, they have so much money in their possession. So how do they protect their money? Do you ever hear that, you know, some bank ATM get stolen, they lost 90% of their money? You don't hear about that, right? Because they don't put all their money into their ATM. And their ATM is something can be easily stolen. Is that right? Right? All right, so based on this, we get some insights on how we should design a very safe storage or cold storage or hot storage. So this is the tip of our secrets, right? Our trade secrets, part of our trade secrets, and I'm giving you for free is that our wallet management systems. So we have users' deposits and users' withdrawals. So when user deposit any coins, depositing to one of our warm wallets, and once this warm wallets receive any money, immediately it will sign a transaction to one of our other system wallets, either our cold wallet or our hot wallet, depending on how much money we have in our hot wallet. And then, if we have a lot of money in our cold wallet, we have something called frozen wallet, right? That's something is quite different from other exchanges are doing, right? For the online signing server, dealing with the warm wallets and cold wallets, there is a chance that people can hack this wallets because, as I just mentioned, they're online systems. But the cold wallet, basically, there's not possible for you to hack it because it's not connected online, right? And then for our frozen wallet, we even tried to use, if you still remember our CTO from the VeChain talking about this HSM system, we are planning to use this SHM to use those hardwares to protect our frozen wallet, right? So what is the single most important piece in this diagram that you think is going to lose you some money? That's the hot wallet. Warm wallet, no money in it, that's fine. Cold wallet and frozen wallet, impossible to break, that's fine. So the only thing you need to worry about is your hot wallet, right? Right? And then the next question is that we really need to decide what is the optimal amount of money to be deposited in this hot wallet. Once your crypto exchange gets hacked, you're not going to lose like $400 million. You're going to lose like 10,000, 20,000. That's tolerable, right? And then there's a paper last year published by those Princeton researchers. They have a model to decide what is the optimal amount of money that should be placed into a hot wallet. But unfortunately, we tried this, and we don't think that this is optimal for our wallet because it makes very strong assumptions in their analysis, and then it does not ever consider how we operate an exchange, right? So that leads us to the next important question we're thinking about. How about the optimal threshold for our exchange, for the Ocean exchange? Is there any perfect formula that we can get to decide how much money we should put inside our hot wallet? And we're thinking about this question. We're starting to look into our data. We see, all these punch marks are, the withdrawals of our VET from our exchange. We are thinking about one question. If we're looking back, if we're looking at the past withdrawal activities, is there any way we can predict what will be the withdrawal in the future? If we can predict it, then we can just put the minimum money necessarily in that hot wallet, right? That seems like a perfect thing we can do. And we have so many good machine learning models which can digest all this historical things. Like if you're from data science, you probably hear about deep learning, right? So in the deep learning, you can have a lot of fancy models like the long short-term memory. So you have those convolutional neural networks. You can have a lot of things to predict the future. But can we do it? We tried it, and it's quite discouraging that typical machine learning methods does not work. It's not perfect word. We cannot do the things successfully in the first time, right? And then, if in this figure, you will see, the x-axis is a prediction and the y-axis is the ground truth, right? If a prediction is right at the diagonal, that means your prediction is pretty good. But of course, in this figure, you don't see like a perfect diagonal distributed prediction. These draws are so hard to predict, even with modern machine learning techniques, right? And then we are thinking about the reason why the predictions cannot be good. Is there anything we can do? We think about it, right? Those withdrawals sometimes are correlated with those market trends. If you have a lot of money flow into the exchange, and probably you have less money to flow out. And then if we have some market campaigns in the exchange, then less money is going to go out. If we have news on the regulations, people tend to sell something to USDT and get withdrawals. So a lot of things will affect this withdrawals that you cannot just look at the history and make the prediction. So what is our recipe? We have something unique called Ocean Brain. That Ocean Brain is the machine learning system that based on our big data platform. So we have a lot of data, as I mentioned, right? So we have withdrawal data, and we have trading activities data, we have user activity data, we have deposit data, we have all the data inside our platform, and then we can use this data to build a good model. And we did. We built some model that can well capture what's going to happen in the future. So we can dynamically adjust the amount of money we deposit in the hot wallet. And this algorithm, along with this system, is currently pending in a US patent. So we're trying to protect this, right? All right, so can artificial intelligence help us more on this security, right? This is just one example. And in fact, our Ocean Brain is doing a lot, including some of the things we're having already been done, and some of the things we're planning and something in the future, right? Including those, security is definitely something we're working on, and we deployed some of the components. And then we can do with the marketing monitoring, if we can predict tomorrow there's going to be a huge volume going on, and we can scale up our infrastructure in advance, right? Even before the market events happen, we can increase our computing resource to deal with that. And also, a lot of times those kind of operation team is busy with approval of those withdrawals, right? And then there's no golden formula, unfortunately, for that, but we can use Ocean Brain to learn a model to predict, how likely this withdrawal is illegal, and then we're going to decline that automatically to save the time of our operation team. And we can also apply to infrastructure scaling, trading behavior. One of the things we plan for a long time is for social trading, right? Once we have those data, we can model those individual traders, their behavior, and connect them and do some very good thing about it, right? And then we can also do some marketing strategy analysis. A lot of things we can do, right? So that's just the starting of the Ocean EX, and I hope you enjoy the talk for today, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Jia Yu. Ladies and gentlemen, the final open session of Summit Giveaway will begin at 4 p.m. Claim your rewards now by using Sync of VeChain Thor mobile wallet. Everyone, our next program will be a panel discussion. Please join me in welcoming the financial reporter of Thomson Reuters, founder and CEO at OX3 TV Production, Ms. Bianca Chen, the founder and CEO at Player, Mr. Patrick Tong, the CEO at DBet, Mr. Jedediah Taylor, and the founding director at 8 Hours Foundation, Mr. John Dempsey.
Everyone. Good afternoon. I'm very happy to be here. First, I want to thank VeChain and Sunny for inviting me here today. Before our panel, a little bit of info about me. I joined Thomson Reuters in 2010, where I cover financial news and host the business programs for Asian market. In 2015, I founded OX3 TV Production, which focuses on producing documentaries about technology for global audiences. I discovered Bitcoin in June 2011, almost 8 years ago. Since then, I have been an avid follower of the crypto and the blockchain world. So about 2 years ago, I started producing a documentary series called Next Blockchain. And VeChain is one story we followed very closely. We are very impressed by their achievement, and I'm very happy to learn what they are doing now. You can find the Chinese version on Tencent Video, and for the English version, the first episode is available on Amazon Prime, and we are going to launch the entire series in coming months. And back to our panel, we have exciting panelists. Today, with me, we have Patrick Tang, CEO at the Player, and also Jedediah Taylor, CEO at the Decent, and also John Dempsey, the CEO at the Play Table, and also the founding manager of 8 Hours. Welcome, everyone. So to start our conversation, to tell everyone the thing of our panel. It's about share your experience of becoming part of VeChain ecosystem. So to start our discussion, let's get to know a little bit more about each one of you. So could you tell us a little bit of what you are doing and your project? Let's start from Patrick.
Thank you, Bianca. Yeah, I want to thank VeChain for hosting this and the entire VFam for sticking it out. I know some of you guys are probably very tired right now, but thank you for staying. Yeah, my name is Patrick. Some of you guys know that I run a project called Player. It's a video game ecosystem where we're trying to support amateur gamers, not just from an esports perspective, but we want to put up into potentially KOL developers that want to build on our platform. We've been working very hard and diligently over the last couple months. I think you guys know to update that weekly. So, every week or so, pop by our Telegram. You'll see me have a chat, interact with me. I'm happy to answer questions anytime.
Sure. Jedediah Taylor, Decent. What we are is a single player and P2P esports gaming platform that offers some of the most popular games in the world, such as Fortnite, PUBG, Hearthstone, Dota 2, soon to come Apex Legends. And essentially what it allows the world to do is to gamble on their favorite games, e-games. So you can use our platform from a single player perspective. If you just want to enter into a quest or a tournament and bet on your results, you're able to do that as an individual. But you're also able to compete with other peers and make wagers against each other in regards to who's going to win whatever the parameters of the bet is. So we're launching our testnet today, actually at our booth with Hearthstone. So feel free to hop by. You can test our product live. Testnet is launching again today, and our mainnet is launching in the next 45 days. One of the things that makes our product very unique is we offer a patent-pending virtual referee. So why this is important is when it comes to P2P betting, one of the biggest challenges is the third-party oracles, or who actually determines the outcome. This patent-pending technology allows our system and our platform to determine the winners without any subjectivity. So we have no need for third-party oracles to determine outcomes, which is key from a scalability perspective. Our goal is to launch millions and millions of tournaments worldwide each year. And in order to do that without the logistics associated with third-party oracles, this technology is key because it determines the outcome through a technological type aspect rather than a third-party oracle.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. So we are 8 Hours Foundation, and we're a relatively new project in the VeChain ecosystem. At 8 Hours Foundation, what we're trying to do is bring people together for at least 8 hours a week with powerful, social, meaningful play. And we do that with Playtable. Playtable is a software platform for social games. And we have a booth that you guys can go check it out, play some games on there. If any of you are board gamers, I encourage you to check it out. We have a lot of exclusively licensed titles like Catan, Ticket to Ride, and a bunch of others. And we're using VeChain as a way to back the collectible value of the toys that work on the platform. So as you play with real physical objects, you can imagine those as NFTs. And as you play in the games on Playtable, those accumulate experience over time. Players can spend money on the digital upgrades, premium asset packs, and so on, and basically see the transition of ownership of their toy as it develops its own story.
I just tried it at the booth. It's pretty fun. So every one of you is doing something related to gaming. I think games are important in terms of generating revenues and attracting audiences and users to build a healthy ecosystem. But on the other hand, it's important to find a healthy and supportive infrastructure to develop games. So tell us a bit more, why did you pick a VeChain Thor blockchain to build your games?
So I think, I'm not sure if some of you know, we kind of started off as a typical project trying to build on ERC-20. We even looked at Neo for a short period of time. And, you know, I met Dave early January, I think last year, and we kind of ran into each other over some drinks, and he introduced me to Cream. At the time, I didn't realize he was actually part of Cream. But he introduced me to Cream, and through Cream, I was actually able to meet Sunny directly in Shanghai. And you know, I started really digging into VeChain after that, and I realized they're extremely business-oriented, unlike some of the other blockchains. I really like that. You know, I've done a lot of different things in life. You know, e-commerce. I've worked for family office doing investments. So I really appreciate the kind of the traditional business aspect of VeChain, right? How they work. I mean, not to mention also all the technology side as well, right? But the business structure in itself was really kind of what sealed the deal for me. So
it's easier adoption.
Yeah, that's right.
How about you, Jedediah?
Sure. So one of our feelings is one of the keys to mass adoption with blockchain is essentially gaming. It's very universal and it applies to the younger demographics. So when you look at the demographics associated with cryptocurrency and this free thinking type mentality, it tends to be more of the younger generations and not the traditional generations. So we feel esports is absolutely the right way to grow our business as well as to add value to cryptocurrency as a whole. So as you've heard in previous presentations through Toshant and the comment wall, the challenges with mass adoption associated with cryptocurrency is the ease of access of user adoption. So through partnerships with Toshant as well as VeChain, it allows us to accomplish our goals. If we truly want to achieve mass adoption and acquire millions and millions of users worldwide, then we will ultimately become a global enterprise. And to be a global enterprise, you need the proper partner in place to support that growth and that scalability. And so there are factors or features associated with the VeChain blockchain, such as MPP and MTT, that allow us to do things that we could not do on any other blockchain. So we were born on the Ethereum blockchain. We are an ERC-20 token, and we actually ported all of our code over to VeChain based on the way that they're positioning themselves in the market. VeChain is truly focused on the global enterprise type solutions. So again, us, with our ambitions and us striving to be one of the largest esports gaming platforms in the entire world, that requires efficiency, which comes through the MTT and the MPP, because we're able to process things like payroll in a single transaction and batch a mass amount of transactions into a single transaction, which allows for scalability. And then when we go into the mass adoption perspective, our ability to sponsor people that aren't familiar with cryptocurrency but want to gamble on games, we can actually pay for their fees and sponsor their wallets. That this allows them not to have to go out to exchanges and purchase VeThor and things of this nature that allow them to participate. So we can actually cover those fees. And there's no other blockchain in the entire world that has this native to their blockchain. So VeChain's enterprise type perspective, as well as the tools that they're building that facilitate enterprise scalability, is the thing that attracted us most.
I see the enterprise focus is very important, I guess. So how about you, John?
Yeah, I think I'll just echo what these two guys have been saying. And VeChain, I think that the alignment of the philosophy of VeChain is very peculiar to us, especially because I think we can all agree here that gaming is one of the main venues that blockchain is going to reach mass adoption. It's something that's a very natural, home for cryptocurrencies in general. But when it comes to blockchain, to function as the back end, it's very important that a technology doesn't get in the way of user experience. And so MPP and MTT help us specifically so that when a new user comes on, they don't have to worry about making sure that their wallet has enough gas in it, or even worry about all of the finer details of transactions that are happening in the system. The sponsorship of us to the end users allows kids to be able to play on this, moms, dads. It truly allows for anyone to come to the platform without any prior knowledge. And when you look at all of the other public chains out there, I think there's still way too much friction in that adoption arena. And the VeChain enterprise partnerships as well is something that resonates very well with us. Because as a legitimate business and product to consumers, we care really deeply about being able to bring this to as many people as we possibly can and facilitate that. And to that end, VeChain's RFID tech was very much a natural fit for us. We use RFID very heavily for the toys and the collectibles on the platform. And so they're the only chain out there that's sort of this hardware physical digital bridge, and that's exactly how we view ourselves as well.
Very interesting, and I think each one of you found VeChain at different time. So I guess you have different experience. Could you share your experience of building your product on VeChain Thor blockchain?
Yeah, so we actually went through the full kind of incubation cycle with VeChain and Cream. We actually rebranded altogether after we got together at Cream, right, and kind of rewrote the white papers, everything, et cetera. We used to be called something else, and thanks to Lila, we were actually able to come up with a nice name for ourselves, which is Player, right? But yeah, I mean, it's been a very long road, right? As I think Jackson's mentioned before, he did put me through some hell. And I quite enjoyed it. I think leading up to when I was about to start my token sale, I think I spent 72 hours straight of just cleaning everything up, getting everything all set and pushed out. But it was well worth it. I mean, the support that I've received from these guys is tremendous, right? My community is very strong. We've got strong admins, volunteers that help us out. VeChain themselves have helped us as well from a development perspective. Even from an investment perspective as well, right? So very, very supportive from top to bottom. And it was something that Sonny always pledged to me when I first spoke to him, is that he said, we will offer you full support 100% of the way. And what they've built here is actually a beautiful thing. I think 8 hours actually, they're gonna experience the full cycle. It's gonna be hard, it's gonna be long, but very fruitful at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Interesting. How about you?
So our experience with VeChain has been over the top amazing. We couldn't be more impressed with the team, the support that we're able to, that's provided to us. Working with Ethereum prior to working with VeChain, there's very little support provided to us. And one of the key factors for us porting over to VeChain and committing to VeChain's blockchain as our baseline protocol was appeasing because from the top down, Sunny Liu to the entire team at VeChain, to the VeChain community, even from a developer perspective, we have direct lines of access to reach out to the highest levels of the VeChain team, and they are so responsive and so caring about supporting us that you can see their passion and their interest in supporting the projects that are associated with them. And from a partner perspective, there's not much more you can ask for other than support, passion, encouragement, and this really community group type philosophy that we all succeed or fail together. And the investment that the VeChain team has made into partners like us on stage is unlike anything that I've ever seen. So we could not be more appreciative for the support and the information and the guidance that VeChain has provided to us. So again, it's been an absolute blessing switching over to the VeChain protocol, and we couldn't be more excited or enthusiastic about it.
Sounds very exciting already. I think, John, you are relatively new to VeChain blockchain. Tell us your experience so far.
Yeah, so we recently came in also through Cream, and going through their process right now, as Pat mentioned. And I think one thing that I really like about Cream and the VeChain ecosystem as a whole is, things are moving so fast. And as a startup, I really like that mentality of just, get it done and get everything done as fast as possible so that you can find out if something's working or not. And all my experiences working with, VeChain technical support and the responsiveness of the team, provided to us. We also came from Ethereum development type background, and the compatibility between what we had already in place and the VeChain is just so much easier for that transition. And then on top of that, I think that the VeChain ecosystem, it's very interesting how the ecosystem as a whole is laid out, because you have all these different players which are all kind of doing the same thing, but they're not. They're all different cogs in the same machine. For example, we have Player here doing gaming, and we have betting, and we have social platform. We also have exchanges, and the entire VeChain community as a whole seems as it has everything that you need for a successful world domination. You have Comet, you have Toshent working all these technologies that help facilitate projects like ours, and you have everything from the lowest level infrastructure all the way up to the end user application and the actual games that people are going to be using on VeChain.
Yeah, and if I can elaborate on that slightly, to have such a forward-thinking company is critical as we position ourselves, because really cryptocurrency is the future. And just elaborating slightly on the previous comments, the way VeChain's positioning themselves and the features that they're developing are absolutely positioned for the future, and that's what we want to be a part of. We don't want to be a part of the past, we want to be a part of the future. And VeChain is absolutely forward-thinking, and they show it through the execution and the development and thought processes associated with the features of their platform.
Yeah, get ready for the future is very important. I'm very curious, do you guys have any kind of most memorable moment or any kind of important lesson you learned from these experiences you can share with all of us?
I think I'll mention before again, my most memorable moment was that moment leading up to that token sale. So it was a very, very tough time, but we made it through. I was given very strict deadlines to meet, and we got through it. But generally speaking, I think definitely the most memorable things for me is it's got to be just a straight partnership with VeChain, right? That's all it comes down to. I mean, honestly, I don't think I would have ever made it through my token sale without Cream and VeChain. So.
Sure. So going back to the support perspective, when we were initially analyzing the transition over to the VeChain blockchain, Jackson and the Cream team were absolutely critical as far as advising us as to the benefits of transitioning to VeChain. And as those discussions started to evolve, it was an absolute privilege for Sunny Liu to fly out to Las Vegas and meet him in person. And one of the most memorable experiences I'll have in my entire life is sitting down at a poker table with Jackson, Sonny Liu, Phil Hellmuth, one of the most famous poker players in the world, and not just working together from a business perspective, but truly building relationships with one another and creating what we are all striving for, which is the VeChain family. So having the ability to sit down with them and share that personal time, sitting at a poker table, playing with some of the world's most famous poker players in the entire world, it's something that I'll never forget, for sure.
Hopefully one day those poker games will be on Playtable.
There we go. We unite. Anything that benefits the VeChain community, we are all in for. So absolutely up for it anytime.
Woo. Yeah. How about you?
So we're, again, really new to the VeChain community and ecosystem, but one of the most memorable moments happened this week, actually. We got our first VeChain Thor node up and running. Took a little bit with our engineers' work, but we pinged the VeChain engineering team. They gave us the really quickly the documentation we needed, point us in the right direction to get that set up. But I really look forward to creating a lot more new memories in the future with all the other Cream and VeChain community ecosystem companies.
I'm sure there will be a lot of more important moments coming in the future. And at last, we have a lot of developers here, and do you guys have any tips or suggestions you can share with our community, and how to build a successful project over VeChain blockchain?
Well, number one, make sure you buy, vet, and hold. Number two, build a beautiful product. I think VeChain and Cream, they've actually created some beautiful incubation program here, right? So, build something that with passion, with enough passion, contact Cream, talk to VeChain, work through their resources, and we can get something going, right? That's exactly what they did for me, and I think the same can happen to a lot of talented developers out there.
My advice would be to take advantage of the support that VeChain provides to you, is really dive into the VeChain community and take full advantage of the very privileged time that they're willing to offer to you. So don't hesitate to reach out and to ask for advice, to ask for guidance, and invest as much as you can from your own personal businesses into the VeChain ecosystem, as well as look for partners within the VeChain ecosystem to work in collaboration with and find synergies with, because we all succeed together. Together we are strong. United we succeed. Divided we fall. That sort of thing. If we truly are a family, if we truly are trying to change the world together, then involve yourself in the VeChain community. Look for synergistic opportunities with other VeChain companies and contribute to the overall master plan, master family as a whole, and take full advantage of the opportunity that you have to be a part of something truly special.
Yeah,
your family, and don't hesitate to ask him too. And John, what's your advice?
I mean, absolutely leverage the VeChain community support. Absolutely keep user experience in mind. Remember, these blockchain applications we're building, they have to wind up somewhere, and more often than not, they wind up to just everyday people. And everyday people, they care less about the technology and more about what value that they're seeing out of it. Are they having fun? Are they having a good time? Do they benefit? Is it secure? Can it be trusted? And so making sure that users are educated more in the arena of what value they're seeing out of it, and making sure that the user experience is a solid one is definitely on point.
Sure, use all the tools that are provided to you. The MPP, the MTT, look at Toshent, look at the Comment Wallet, and look at simplicity of not just scalability of your individual businesses, but in line with that scalability of your individual businesses comes with user adoption. So there's a lot of projects and features that are available in the VeChain ecosystem that allow you to accomplish those goals better than any other blockchain in existence from my perspective.
And absolutely bring more and more partnerships into the mix. I think that there's no shortage of companies and business out there that can benefit from VeChain, from the technology, from a community like this. And just the larger we bring this up and proliferate the value of what we're building to outside partnerships just brings us more and more closer to true mass adoption.
Sure, and one last thing really fast is, it's easy in a business environment to look at your peers as competitors to some degree. The thing that we're all trying to accomplish with cryptocurrency is mass adoption. And if mass adoption doesn't happen, we're all gonna fail. So rather than look at yourselves as individual businesses in an individual funnel, look at more of the success as an industry and the VeChain ecosystem as a whole as a key to your success. Because what we all have to create first is a pie, right? Like, we all want a piece of the pie. So we need to create the pie first so we can all get our individual pieces. And if we get too competitive out the gates and start to become cutthroat rather than cooperative, that hurts the industry, hurts the ecosystem. So the more we can work together, the more fruitful this will be for all of us.
Yeah, so keep the ecosystem, keep the community in mind. Thank you so much. I want to conclude our panel by thanking every one of you, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Once again, let's give a big round of applause for Ms. Bianca Chen, Mr. Patrick Tong, Mr. Jedediah Taylor, and Mr. John Dempsey. Ladies and gentlemen, as we reach the closing of VeChain Summit 2019, we ask you to join us for final remarks from Mr. Sunny Liu. Everyone, let's welcome back onto the stage Mr. Sunny Liu.
All right. What a day, huh? From the early morning. I really appreciate all of the guest speakers, panelists, all of you guys coming for a day. It's quite technical, honestly. I really like, Jia Yu has been talking. I never see someone like any kind of crypto exchange to talk about that kind of deep study, case, the research kind of way to make sure the security. And we have some really nice surprise. The news coming from DNVGO, try to do some use case in the healthcare in US soil, and the seafood expansion, and also a very exciting inspiration from Deloitte and BMW for sure. I really motivated. I just tweet about I have to go back to my daughter and say, I'm sorry, Melissa, maybe I just need to have more work to do, spend less time with her. I hope not, but I really motivated. So before I really close today, I also have some announcement. Firstly, new advisors. Can we show on the screen? Masanari-san. Masanari-san will be our new advisor most likely for Japan market. Masanari-san was ex-congressman for Japan, and he's doing visiting fellowship in Tsinghua University, most likely building up the connection between Japan and China, especially on the new technologies, commerces between those two countries. So I'm sure with Masanari-san on board, we can start to expand the Japanese market and creating valuable transactions in Japan's market for sure. And the next will be Antonio, as you already see that. I saw lots of people tweeting about that. Antonio is global CTO, right, for Deloitte blockchain team, which honestly, I'm really appreciate the openness, not only for Deloitte, but also to PwC. I know they're, but that's about blockchain, right? It's an open world. Everybody can come on, and maybe later on they could work with each other. Maybe someday, I don't know, right? But everything is on a public blockchain. Also there is also announcement about one of our steering committee members, C.Y. Chang from PwC. Actually, he's changing his role to be advisor, with Antonio together. So all of the entire steering committee members all vote for a new member before we have the final voting in the 2 years. That will be Daniel Kelman. So you all see Daniel's work in the legislation is super important. Unfortunately, Sergio Motola cannot join with us today. Actually, he has some family issue he has to take care. But we have been working with San Marino Innovation on this part. As everybody know, maybe not you guys, it's quite big news in Europe. San Marino already approved the law and the legislation for ICO and STO on March 1st, okay? So now they're waiting for 90 days publicity time window to make it official. So it means on June 1st, I would say 99% of the chance, we're gonna have the first official or STO, or maybe both, launched on VeChain Store in San Marino in a legitimate way, okay? So that's very important. But don't speculate what's going on with PwC. Actually, PwC is doing really good job and contributing a lot with us. But because of the special position, they are not able to say too much. But I can say one of the projects we have been working with PwC is going to very huge, and it's very significant. I would say kind of significant milestone to entire blockchain space. As significant as DNVGO is migrating the certification from private blockchain to public blockchain. That's exactly the same level. And the name, I cannot say right now because we're gonna focus on the delivery announcement, right? It should be alive in a couple of months. But when you see the name, I'm sure you all know the name very well, and you will blow your mind for sure. So wait for 2 months, okay? You will have more details about that. And a better part is, I'm not gonna say by ourselves, but it will be announced by the PwC and by the customer together. That will be even better. So last but not least, everybody asked me what's going on with carbon initiative. We have been talking about that, and Luca has been talking about that. I really appreciate, Luca leave me this opportunity to say some new updates about carbon initiative. Actually, this morning, I just received a message. UNDP is joining the carbon initiative. We just signed it. And thanks for DNVGL. You know about UNDP, right? It's a United Nations. Right. So search for that. Sustainable Growth Development Goals. And we will be one of them, and we will not be limited to just one of them. Actually, we can see there are lots of opportunities for those 17 SDGs. Somehow, we all can work together for that. So I'm sure with very strong involvement and commitment from UNDP, the carbon initiative is going to be spread all over the world in the coming months or years. So thank you again for all coming. Thank everyone behind the screen, especially a big thank you to my team, which make this happen. Thank all of the ecosystem projects coming, set up the nice booths, and guys can play together. So thank you everyone again coming again, and let's see you next time. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause for Mr. Sunny Lu. On behalf of VeChain, we would like to thank everyone for attending the VeChain Summit of 2019. This concludes our conference. We hope you've enjoyed your time, and we look forward to seeing you again next year.